So, I want you to try to stay calm, Leanne, and just listen for a moment, said Beth after hanging up the phone with her cousin. Little Haley is in the hospital and won't be able to be in your wedding. She's okay, but she'll be in there for another week until she gets her strength back. What? Are you kidding me? Stay calm, screamed Leanne, beginning to flip out. How can I stay calm? My wedding is on Saturday and now I have no flower girl. Leanne and Kenny are scheduled to get married on Saturday and she's planned out every single minute detail. She's a perfectionist that has left no stone unturned to assure a perfect day and has battled her future mother-in-law, Janice, who has attempted to put into every detail whenever she could. Well, it's no big deal, Leanne, said her grandmother Mildred, trying to reason with her. Are you kidding me, Grandma? Screamed Leanne. This is the most important day of my life and everything has to be perfect. Now I'll have no one to walk with the ring bearer. No one to carry my flowers. No one to all the things we've planned at the reception and in the pictures. And what about tonight? The rehearsal dinner is tonight and Janice will be here in 2 hours to come with us to the jeweler. Relax, we'll find someone, said her mother, thinking with her finger under her upper lips. Or I'm sure Albert would be thrilled not to be the ring bearer. You could drop the flower girl and ring bearer. Mom, please, said Leanne, whining as she fanned herself. This is a disaster. I have planned this forever. I realize that you've had this planned since you were a little girl, but things change, Leanne, said Beth. Stop being such a damn drama queen. No, Mother, stomped Leanne. It's my wedding and I want it to be perfect. I need Haley to walk with Albert. Well, that's obviously not going to happen, so we need a new plan now, said Beth. Girls, let's calm down now, said her grandmother, trying to help. How about from Kenny's side? Please, Grandmother. Not a chance, said Leanne. There is no way I will allow my future mother-in-law, Janice, to push that little troll niece of hers to be the fill-in flower girl. She is a fat, nasty little girl and I cannot stand her. I've already told my fiancé once that I don't want her in the wedding party and I had this planned out perfectly. Now if I tell him that Haley is out, then his mother will be all over this, pushing that nasty fat little bitch niece on me. If only Albert was the one sick, I'd be fine, because then I could put in Kenny's cousin Jonathan, who is a handsome young guy with good manners, and I could easily just rent him a matching tuxedo. You are stressing over nothing, honey, said her mother, trying to reason with her. Let's just calm down and we'll think of something. Think of what? I need Haley, said Leanne, beginning to cry. How will I ever get out of taking that fat little bitch of a niece if I don't have Haley there? Well, I've seen her and there's no way she'd fit in the flower girl dress anyway, said Beth. That's true, but you know Janice would pay someone to work day and night adjusting the dress to fit her, said Leanne, weeping. She'd just love that. What size is that dress? Said her grandmother. It's a size 2, said Leanne. Beth, did you save any of Leanne's old dresses that might have been a size 2, said her grandmother. If I know you, then I bet you did. Oh, probably. You know me and keeping my memories. They are in the guest room closet, said her Beth, shooting an inquisitive look at her mother. Why? Mildred had a little gleam in her eye as she walked upstairs and searched through the guest room closet. After 10 minutes she returned with Leanne's old cheerleader uniform. Remember this, Leanne, said Mildred, holding it up. This is a size 2 and there are a few others up there that are size 2. Okay, so what is the point here, Grandma? Said Leanne in a condescending tone. I wore that like when I was 12 or 13 and basically was skinny as a rail and had no curves yet. The point is, my bitch a little bride-to-be, is that young ladies like Haley have no curves yet either, said Mildred, placing the outfit on the back of the couch. So all I need is someone that fits into the dress and that we can mold into a beautiful flower girl. Now, sit down and I'll be right back. Mildred walked into the family room and switched off the big screen television. In a moment she returned with her only grandson Albert, who was wearing his headphones and playing a Nintendo DS game. Albert lived with his grandmother, who raised him as his mother had passed on early in his life and his father abandoned his responsibility and never even met him. They lived about 30 minutes away in her classic old Victorian house, where her entire life revolved around Albert's activities, his schooling, and her small family. Mildred had been spending a tremendous amount of her free time with Beth and her only other grandchild, Leanne, preparing for Leanne's wedding, so all she cared about was making sure that it would be perfect. Albert, on the other hand, was a typical 13-year-old boy who hated school and thought about nothing more than sports and video games, and could care less about his cousin's wedding. He was your average-looking boy with a normal slight build and had yet to experience a growth spurt, so he was on the smaller side yet not tiny. At this time in his life, he was experiencing the early part of puberty and had a typical preteen look with longish straggly hair hanging on his shoulders and always wore loose-fitting oversized clothes. "Albert, honey. Don't mind Grandma. Just play your game and listen to your music while I try this on you," said Mildred. "Whatever, Grandma," said Albert as Mildred slipped his ripped t-shirt over his head and off of each arm individually as he continued playing his game and pushed his headphones back into his ears. Mildred now took 2 back thin hairbands between her teeth and turned Albert to face Leanne and Beth. Without missing beat, she quickly slid the cheerleader outfit over his head, pulled each arm through the short sleeve, straightened it and zipped up the back. "Huh," said Beth, letting out a sigh as Mildred grabbed each side of his shoulder-length unruly hair and held it between her fingers behind his right and left ear. "So," said his grandmother, smiling at them as she inserted a hairband on the left side securing the first pigtail. "No way, Grandma," said Leanne, shocked as her grandmother now double-twisted the hairband on the right side as Albert looked down from his game. "Hey, what the hell, Grandma," said Albert, realizing what happened now. "Very funny." "Haha." "Mother," said Beth, shaking her head. "You really aren't thinking that. Are you?" "Well, there's certainly a strong family resemblance and definitely looks to be a size 2, said his grandmother, smiling. "Grandma, what the hell is this about?" said Albert, nervously now. "Holy shit, Grandma," said Leanne excitedly now. "You are right. Let me try something." Leanne ran over to the kitchen and grabbed her purse. She quickly came back into the living room and pushed Albert forcefully onto the couch. "Don't move, or I'll kick the shit out of you, cuz," said Leanne, grabbing his face as she took mascara from her pocketbook. "Close your eyes and give me just a minute to experiment." She now quickly began rubbing some eyeshadow on his lids and then brushing on his cheeks. She then took a tube, swishing it on his lips before drawing on his lids with her pencil. "Stand up," she ordered as she pulled him to his feet as she stuck her hands under his skirt and dropped his shorts to the floor as they sat around his ankles. "Please stop," said Albert nervously. "Why are you humiliating me like this? Is this some bachelorette party joke or something?" Leanne looked at her grandmother, who looked at her daughter as they all started smiling. They looked Albert up and down a few times now as Leanne walked over and put her arm around Albert. "So, Grandma, did I tell you I love you yet today?" said Leanne, taking a sigh of relief as she winked at her grandmother. "No, honey, but I know already," said Mildred, smiling back at her. "Now let's get to work since Janice is going to be here in 2 hours. We'll need to clean up Albert properly and get him ready. Leanne, you go make the phone call and tell Kenny's family that Albert is sick. Tell them to get Jonathan a tux and have him at the rehearsal tonight while you grandmother and I do what we have to do here," said Beth. "I'll run up to your room and get some things that we'll need." "You got it, Mom," said Leanne with pep in her step. "After I call them and I'll get back down here and help." "What are you talking about?" said Albert. "I'm not sick," but if you don't want me in the wedding and I don't have to wear that monkey suit, then that's awesome. I'm cool with that. Now is this joke over as well? Can you clean me up and can I change now? Oh, you're going to change all right, but it may not be to your liking. Take some joy in that fact that at least Albert won't be in the wedding any longer, just like you wanted, said his grandmother, wiping the makeup from his face. Close your eyes while I clean them or this will sting. That's good. I hate weddings, but whatever I have to wear now can't be worse than that stupid monkey suit, said Albert, relieved. Now please, Grandma, finish wiping this crap off me. Patience, this will take a few minutes to properly clean your skin, said Mildred, as Beth returned with her arms full of items. Beth now opened 2 large folding tables in front of him as Leanne returned, happy as ever. All set. Jonathan is in and very excited about it, said Leanne. Cool, then that means that I'm out, said Albert, all excited. Awesome. Honey, let me explain, said his grandmother. Albert is out, but you're not. What? Said Albert, opening his eyes. What does that mean? It means since Haley is sick and we need a size 2, said Beth, spreading her arms at him. You fit the bill. Honey, it means you are the new flower girl, said his grandmother, smiling at him. From this moment forward you are Haley. You fit the dress and have the family resemblance, of course. This is a joke, right? Said Albert as he watched Leanne plug in a 6-prong extension cord and bring it towards them. No joke. You'll be adorable shortly, said Leanne, teasing as she plugged in a bunch of things behind him as he stretched back his neck to see. This will be so much fun. Enough now, Albert. Not another word, said his grandmother, grabbing his ear and tugging it forward. Be still and behave, as we have a lot of work to do. I've dedicated my entire life to raising you and taking care of you, so now you'll just do what I want with question. Let's divide and conquer, ladies. Albert froze now, scared to death as the girls got to work on him. His grandmother now spread a series of cosmetics all over her folding table, assembling a small makeup counter before dotting at his face with a sponge, while Beth took his right hand and forcefully laid it flat on the table, spreading his fingers. The aroma of polish filled his nose, forcing him to look down, instantly noticing that his pinky nail had become bright pink as Beth was wasting no time painting his nails. The odd sensations though now became worse as he felt Leanne from behind lift each ankle and toss his shorts across the room. He nervously started shaking now as he felt Leanne softly rub his thigh, tickling the hair on his leg before he heard a buzzing noise and began feeling a vibrating sensation on his left calf. He tried looking down as his grandmother put her fist under his chin, pushed his face back up so she could work on his face. No worries, my beautiful little flower girl, said his grandmother. Now you let us just work our magic and everything will be fine. Fight me and you'll be sorry for the rest of your life. Now look down, dear. His grandmother now took a small pencil and worked on his lids and then his lashes, before he felt the heat on his fingers. He looked down, seeing Beth place his fingers under a small dryer before going to work painting the nails of his other hand. Leanne now removed his left sock and shoe and was buzzing around his ankle before repeating this on his right foot. When she finished, she stepped out in front of them holding one of his sneakers as she ran upstairs. In a few minutes, she returned with a few sneakers, a couple balls of socks and a basket filled with clips and ribbons. He now felt Beth remove his right hand and switch the dryer to his left as he stared at the basket as Leanne put it down next to Beth. Be still, said Leanne, touching his ass. This may be a little weird, but boxers just don't work with this outfit, honey. Albert gulped as he felt Leanne reach all the way under his skirt to his waistband now and pull down his underwear. He watched as his red and white checkered boxers were flung across the floor as he felt her pull some very tight underwear into place and snap the waistband, before tugging at the hem of the skirt. Leanne now lifted his left ankle as he felt a soft sock and shoe being placed on his foot, before repeating it on the other side. She now walked back out in front of him, digging through the basket as his grandmother was now softly brushing at his cheeks before they all stepped back to observe their work. Beth now walked behind him, removing the hairband from each pigtail and began liberally spraying his hair until it was damp with a small pink spray bottle. She then took a wide-toothed brush and dug it through his hair, removing any knots as he wrenched a little as she worked to detangle him. "Oh, that really hurts," whined Albert. "Please, no more. This hurts bad." "Stop." "Shut up," said his grandmother, lifting his chin as she worked on his eyeshadow now. "See, I told you to take better care of your hair if you wanted it longer." "Let me help now, Mom," said Leanne. "My hair is that same texture." "What are you thinking?" "Classic high tails like you used to wear a lot with this outfit for now, I'm thinking," said Beth, brushing away. "Cool," said Leanne. "It'll make for a younger look." "I like that idea. We'll tell Janice that he just got home from practice after school." Beth continued brushing as Leanne joined her now as she took a comb, parting his hair right down the middle from his forehead to the base of his neck, and gathered the right side in her hand. She brushed through it in her hand as she held it before taking dark thin hairband and flipping it over and over as she secured his hair. She pulled on the ends of his hair, forcing the band against his head as she now relieved her mother on the left side as she repeated the process. "Very cute, Leanne. Find some cute accessories while your mother finishes up," said Mildred. "Be still, honey, because we'll be done soon." Beth squirted some gel into her fingers and rubbed it against Albert's hair from the part outward as Leanne dug through her basket. Mildred now took a small pencil and placed her hand under Albert's chin. "Give me as big a smile you can, dear, and hold it until I finish," said his grandmother. As he smiled, his grandmother drew on the outer portion of his lip as he heard the distinct sound and fragrant smell of hairspray near his left ear as Beth was tucking his hair upward. He felt her pull his head back now a little as he could feel the heat near the side of his head and hear some odd squeaking, as she would release her tension every 30 seconds or so before repeating to apply her hairspray. After doing this 4 times, she jumped over to the other side as Leanne walked behind him with her basket. "So, Grandma, can you match this one?" said Leanne, holding up something from behind Albert's back. "I think it'll be cute without being too dramatic." "Show me a few others as well, dear," said his grandmother, looking at every choice. "Wait, I have some clip-ons too," said Leanne. "It's a cheerleader outfit, so they'll have to be modest, but let me dig through a few." Leanne held up choice after choice as they finally agreed. "Yes, dear." "Perfect," said his grandmother, smiling. "Those are perfect compliments." Albert now felt a small pinch clinging to his left ear before he now heard a snap as Leanne tugged gently at his hair. His grandmother now took a tube to his lips as he instantly sensed a watermelon flavor on his lips as Beth finished on his right side. Leanne now picked at his hair on the right as against he heard the snap before feeling the small pinch as Beth circled him, spraying his entire head now. As she finished, his grandmother took a small paintbrush to the middle of his lips as he licked them before she stepped back, joining her daughter and granddaughter admiring their work. "You know I love my cousin, but I don't think Haley ever looked this pretty," said Leanne, teasing him. Albert was scared to death now as he held out his hands, staring at his short pink nails at the end of his fingers. He looked down, seeing his legs peeking out from under the pleated skirt of Leanne's old cheerleader outfit as immediately he saw all the peach fuzz on the floor, realizing it was all of his soft little hairs that had been buzzed from his body. On his feet, he had pure white sneakers with opal laces and little pom-poms above his opal ankle socks. "Oh no, oh no!" screeched Albert. "Grandma, this is crazy. How will I go in the locker room with my hockey team with no hair on my legs? Holy crap, I have a game tomorrow." "Dear, relax," said his grandmother. "Your game for tomorrow was changed and you'll just change in a stall until it grows back. You'll be fine." "I don't know what you're worried about, you barely had much hair on those legs anyway," said Leanne in a nasty tone. I buzzed it right off with a wet dry razor with almost no effort. Grandma, Aunt Beth, please, said Albert pleading. No one will believe I'm a cheerleader anyway. Let's call this off and let me change back. You know, dear, I love you very much, but I'll have to disagree with you on this one, said Beth, walking over and handing him a large silver mirror. Albert took the mirror and spun it around, looking closely at his face as he touched it in disbelief. Immediately he saw that he had been made up naturally with soft pink full sparkling lips, delicate long lashes, and thinly lined eyes. His complexion looked flawless as he turned slightly each way, seeing cheekbones he never realized he had. As he blinked, he saw his grandmother's intricate artwork above his eyes as the pale pink shadows on his lower lid were separated by the opal shadows on his crease before blending into a darker pink shade which sparkled with glitter as it blended into his eyebrows. You look so adorable in pigtails. Good thing I gave in after all your whining and let you grow your hair out, said his grandmother, inspecting. Don't you agree, Haley? His nerves were getting the best of him now as Mildred stretched the mirror back so he could have a clear view of his entire image as his pigtails were softly bouncing as he began trembling. He reached up with his left hand, touching the little dangling light blue stone from his earring, feeling the clasp that held it clipped in place. He now touched his forehead, where his hair felt like sticky concrete from all the gel and hairspray, before pulling gently at a perfectly turned undercurl in one of the pigtails, which bounced right back into place below the long streamers of light and dark blue ribbons which decoratively covered each hairband. Crap, said Albert, mumbling as he put the mirror down. So dear, let's go over this so we are all in sync, said Mildred. From this moment forward we'll be referring to you as Haley. You just got out of cheerleading practice and are very excited to be in the wedding. Got it. Like I have a choice, said Albert, putting his head down. This sucks. Well, he's got the preteen attitude down. Beth teased. If you mess this up, I'll kill you. This is my wedding, said Leanne, screaming at him. Janice is a difficult bitch, so when she gets here just shut up and do as you are told. You look like a cute little angel, so act like one or I'll reach under that skirt and permanently make you a girl. Easy ladies, said Mildred, stepping in. Dear, just relax and be yourself. Just yourself as Haley. Try to do what other 11-year-old girls do. Which is what? Said Albert, confused. I'm a 13-year-old boy. All I think about is sports and games. No, I've seen you checking out the girls, said Mildred. So now you will be thinking about what you like in girls. You like how they dress and smell and walk. I know that, because I've seen you looking at them. Here, sit down and read these until Janice gets here. Leanne told him, handing him some magazines. You are now into boys, fashion, hair, and gossip. Albert sat down reading, as he had little choice, as the girls cleaned up, putting away everything, vacuumed the mess, and took away his old clothing. After about 30 minutes, the doorbell rang and Leanne answered it. Hey Janice, said Leanne, hugging her as she came in with a few shopping bags. She quickly ran over to hug Mildred and Beth as she put her bags down, very excited to see everyone. So, it's almost here, ladies. I can hardly wait, said Janice, all pumped up. I'm so excited about tonight's rehearsal and our rehearsal dinner. I hope you don't mind, but I changed it just a bit. What? Said a surprised Leanne, flashing a look at her mother. Leanne, don't worry, dear, said Janice. I have everything under control. I just took the liberty of changing this evening's dinner to a little nicer restaurant, Vincenzo's, with more space for us, and made sure to invite Jonathan's family. I feel terrible about Albert, but I'm thrilled about Jonathan. He's a wonderful kid. I also took the liberty of booking all of us at Classique Salon before the rehearsal, since everything is now a bit fancier than originally planned. So if everyone's ready, let's get moving, as the schedule got a little tighter today, but we'll manage. Janice, we didn't plan for all this. I can run upstairs and change into a fancier outfit, but I don't think everyone else is prepared. I just planned on a casual dinner. I just thought we were picking up the rings, then coming back here for coffee before leaving for the getting ready for rehearsal, said Leanne, all wound up now. Janice, please, I'm stressed enough with all this wedding stuff. Oh Leanne dear, you have to learn to relax and let me treat you like the daughter I've always wanted, said Janice, waving her wrist at her. I want the best for you and my son, and I will settle for nothing less. I already paid for this dinner and booked all of our hairdressers at Classique. Now we'll all go there for a quick visit. I arranged for Tiffany to just blow out your hair, and then we'll be off to the rehearsal. You know you look terrific when she does that. Your grandmother is dressed to the nines already, so I think she's fine, and look how gorgeous Beth looks. Janice, I think it's lovely, said Beth, running upstairs. I'll change into something more appropriate, and we'll be out of here in a minute. But Grandma, you didn't bring anything for Haley to change into, so maybe we should go back to the original plan, Leanne said, elbowing her grandmother. Well, I guess that's true, said Mildred. You see, Haley is in the family room and we brought her right here after school, so she could just go to the rehearsal and practice. Wait, little Haley is here, said Janice, all excited now. Where is the little darling? I'm dying to meet her. I have Jonathan in the car. After the excitement today, I picked him up, and we are going to just drop him off on our way. Let me bring him in. Janice raced out to the car and then quickly brought in Jonathan. She took him by the hand as he waved hello to everyone, as she wasted no time running into the family room and interrupted Albert, who was on the couch studying the magazines that Leanne gave him. Haley! Stand up and give your new aunt a hug, screamed Janice, with her arms wide open. Oh my, you really are adorable. And you're a cheerleader. How wonderful. I'm so excited that you'll be joining us. Oh, me too, of course, said Albert. Well, this is Jonathan. Albert looked up at him as he reached out his hand. Hi, Haley, said Jonathan. Hi, said Albert, softly shaking his hand. Wait, joining you? Oh, yes, we have a few stops to make after we drop off Jonathan, and it will be wonderful to have you with us, said Janice, taking his hand and bringing him into the kitchen. I'll make some calls and have you squeezed in with us for our little girl's afternoon out. I'm thrilled to death. Beth came back downstairs in a classic maroon one-piece suit trimmed in lace, and Elizabeth was already formally dressed in an emerald jacket and black slacks. They looked at each other, noticing how uncomfortable Albert had become around Jonathan, as Janice was just talking up a storm. Janice, of course, was impeccably dressed in an expensive tan channel dress with a white jacket and decked out with large jewelry, as the bride-to-be was getting annoyed as Janice modified her plans and dominated all conversation. Oh, and I almost forgot, dear. I brought a little something that I thought my new daughter-in-law might like, said Janice, handing 2 shopping bags to Leanne. Just a little something, honey. Leanne opened the first bag and removed a present which she quickly opened, and her eyes widened and her mood suddenly changed. Janice, wow, said Leanne, holding up a classic little Vera Wang cocktail dress. It's gorgeous. She now opened the second bag, unwrapping the new Jimmy Choo strappy silver strappy stilettos, and she immediately jumped up and hugged Janice. I don't know what to say, said a surprised Leanne. It's too much, Janice. Oh, please, said Janice. Now hurry and go try them on. Leanne raced into the bathroom, and in 2 minutes she emerged looking amazing in her new cocktail dress and shoes. I love it, said Leanne, feeling gorgeous now. Thank you so much. I'm touched. Now, let's get moving, ladies, said Janice, walking over and taking Albert's hand. Don't worry, there's a little boutique across from the jeweler where I'm sure we can get something cute for Haley. Leanne giggled, looking at her cousin as Janice led him out the front door. He had no choice but to squeeze in the back seat between his grandmother on one side and next to Jonathan, who was beside Leanne in the back seat. They sat quietly and Albert was extremely uncomfortable as his bare leg was pinned against Jonathan's. He tugged at the edge of the skirt a few times as it moved whenever the car hit a pothole. After 10 minutes, Jonathan spoke, trying to break the ice between them as Albert was looking out the window avoiding any eye contact. So, this wedding sounds like fun, Leanne, said Jonathan. Thanks for thinking of me. You're welcome, honey, said Leanne happily. I think you and Haley will be cute together in the wedding. Really, said Jonathan. Thanks a lot. I don't really know many cheerleaders. Oh, how come, said Leanne. I thought you played sports. I do, they just don't have them at my games, said Jonathan. So, do you like cheerleading, Haley? Said Jonathan, trying to strike up conversation as they were squeezed together. I guess, said Albert, not knowing what to say. That's cool, said Jonathan. I bet you are really good at it. I don't know about that. Albert giggled. Seriously, you look athletic. Jonathan told Haley. Well, I bet that at least you are a good dancer or gymnast. Well, I'm good on skates, said Albert. That's awesome. Me too, said Jonathan. I'm a hockey player. What? Said Albert, whipping around his head as his pigtail smacked Jonathan right in the eye. Who? Easy, said Jonathan, rubbing his eye now. Sorry, said Albert nervously, realizing what happened. I didn't mean to hit you like that. It's okay, Haley, said Jonathan, smiling now as he wiped his very red eye. Like I said, I'm a hockey player, so we're tough, but I usually wear a helmet. I'll have to remember to wear one if you've got those cute pigtails in. I hope you aren't that dangerous in those little white skates. Jonathan, honey, said Janice, calling to him as she stopped the car. We are here, dear. We'll see you later. Okay, bye everyone. Jonathan said as he got out. It was nice meeting everyone, and I'll see everyone tonight. They drove about another 10 minutes, and Albert was happy to get rid of him and have some space, until they finally got to the jewelry store. When they got there, they all went inside as Leanne inspected the wedding rings and tried on hers, and they were all giddy with excitement. The jeweler now brought the gift bags for the wedding party as Leanne opened them to check each set, which were her gifts to the bridesmaids. Mame, this last one will need some adjustment, if it is for the young lady, said the jeweler. You ordered it for a flower girl, and she is really more of a junior bridesmaid. Oh shit, really? She's 11, said Leanne, nervously. So it won't fit her. Well, I think the necklace will be fine, but give me a few minutes and I'll measure her wrist and add some links to the bracelet, said the jeweler, checking Albert's wrist. I'll make it work. Well, why don't we go across the street and pick up an outfit for Haley while he works on that, said Janice. It'll be my treat. Absolutely not, said Mildred. Janice, you have already done too much. I wouldn't be comfortable with you buying her an outfit. Beth and I will take her over there, and why don't you two come over once the bracelet is ready? Ladies, that's fine, but I'll need the young lady here for a bit, said the jeweler. Okay, Leanne and I will stay with her, while you go over and see if there's anything there you like, said Janice. Go ahead and then we'll bring her over as soon as he's done. Thank you, said Mildred, smiling at Janice. We'll see you in a bit. As Mildred and Beth walked across the street, Leanne's cell phone rang. "Hey, honey. I'm here with your mother and she is spoiling me rotten," said Leanne, answering it before covering the receiver. "I'll be right back. I'm going to step outside for a minute and chat. Watch here, Haley, for me for a minute, okay?" "Of course, dear," said Janice, looking over at Albert, who was just sitting there waiting for the bracelet to be brought out. "So Haley, do you love cheerleading or what?" said Janice. "Oh, yes, sure," said Albert, not knowing what to say. "I was a cheerleader too when I was your age," said Janice. "What's your favorite cheer, honey?" I don't know," said Albert, shrugging his shoulders. "Well, I used to love the football team cheers because all the cute boys were there," said Janice. "I bet you like those?" Said Albert, looking down as he was saved by the jeweler interrupting. "Here you go, young lady," said the jeweler, wrapping a bracelet around his wrist. "This looks perfect now." "Very pretty on her," said Janice, as he took it away and put it in the box. "The only problem will be the matching studs though, ma'am," said the jeweler, pointing to Albert's ear. "Do you want to return them?" "Return them?" said Janice, before catching on. "Oh, I'd hate to. They go so well." "Well, I can load them in the gun if you think she's ready," said the jeweler, whispering. "Usually when they get to her age and they haven't done it, yet it's because of nerves." "She's extremely shy," whispered Janice. "But let's do it if you can make it painless and quick." "I'll get my assistant, and we'll do them both at once," said the jeweler. Within a minute, the jeweler returned and removed Albert's clip-ons. "I bet that feels better, honey," said the jeweler, rubbing his lobes. "Those can get uncomfortable, so let me make a few adjustments, okay?" "Oh, thank you," said Albert, feeling slightly relieved as he felt some numbness. "So, we ready now, Janice?" said Leanne, entering the room. "Oh, just one moment, dear," said Janice, stepping in front of her. "Just having them do a little treat for us." "On three, okay," said the jeweler to his assistant. 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop. Leanne now stretched her neck around Janice and covered her mouth in shock. "See, that was nothing to be nervous about all these years," said the jeweler, holding up a mirror for Albert. "Those are gorgeous on you." Albert looked ready to cry as Leanne sprinted across the room and immediately hugged him tightly. "Hold it together," Leanne said, squeezing him. "It's no big deal. It's just for a few days. Don't ruin this for me or I'll kill you. It's no big deal." After a minute, Leanne released him and wiped 2 tears from his face. "I love happy tears," said Janice, hugging him. "See, that was nothing to be nervous about all these years. That took like 2 seconds. You are going to have to get used to me spoiling you a little bit. I've been waiting a lifetime to spoil a beautiful young lady like you. Now let's go show your aunt and grandmother." Janice took his hand as they crossed the street and entered the boutique. "So show Grandma how adorable you look, Haley," said Janice, holding out her hand towards her ears. "Oh my!" exclaimed her grandmother, turning around as she had just paid. "What a surprise, dear." "Sorry, but I couldn't help myself," said Janice, immediately explaining. "I hope you didn't mind, but you ladies won't let me buy her any outfits and I didn't want her to be denied getting those gorgeous earrings like the other girls in the bridal party. I surprised her." "Oh, and surprised us as well, Janice," said his stunned grandmother, looking at Leanne. "Did you say thank you, young lady?" "Thank you, Janice," said Albert, who was beet red. "Well, let's go, because we'll be right on time for the salon if we leave right now." Leanne looked at her watch and took a bag from her. "How much stuff did you buy her, Grandma?" Not too much, said Mildred, as they walked out of the store. Just something for tonight and then something cute but casual for tomorrow to wear to her fitting. They now drove off and got to the salon in time for their appointments. Hello, Miss Gorgeous Mother of the Groom, said the receptionist, kissing Janice as they came in. Welcome, ladies, and it's wonderful to see everyone. Hello, Pierre, said Janice, cheek kissing him. We are all ready for you ladies, as I know this is just a quick visit for tonight, said Pierre. So Leanne, I have you in for a blowout. I have Mildred for a dry set. Beth for some loose waves, and Janice, I have you down for just a straightening with a flip. Is that right, everyone? Sounds wonderful, said Mildred. And have we decided what we'd like for our little cheerleader, said Pierre. I'm assuming pigtails just won't cut it for this evening? True, Pierre, said Janice, laughing. Leanne, I'm assuming she's going to do something like the other girls in the bridal party. Is that what you were thinking? I'm not sure yet, but that wouldn't be what I want for her tonight anyway, said Leanne, getting annoyed as Janice was butting in again. Let's just worry about tonight right now, and I'll give it some thought for her wedding due. What are you thinking, cutie? Said Pierre, looking at Haley. Me? Albert shrugged his shoulders. She's been growing her hair long for 2 years now, so nothing short, said Mildred, chiming in. This was unplanned, but I'm sure there are a number of adorable things you could do for her. Oh, definitely. Come with me, Haley, and I'll wash you out, honey. I'm Catherine, said a younger hairdresser. What is she wearing tonight? She's in an A-line, 3/4 bell dress. It comes with a few ornaments, said Mildred, handing her a bag. If you can work them, and feel free to. It's a very fancy restaurant, and she's kind of a girly girl, said Janice, chiming in. So keep that in mind with the hair. Albert shot a dirty look back at his grandmother after that comment, as Catherine led him to the sink and wrapped a large plastic smock around him. She now removed the hair ribbons, placing them in his bag, and then unwound the bands from his pigtails before laying him back and switched on the water. It was a relief as the tightness of the pigtails was removed as she shampooed his hair and then conditioned it. She switched off the water and then brought him to her chair, combing through his wet hair as she studied him. So, is there anybody's hair you really like, said Catherine, as she combed through it. Like Miley, or Carly, or Selena? How about Taylor? Oh, they are all kinda hot, I guess, said Albert. I mean their hair. It's cool to say that, said Catherine, laughing as she combed through his hair. I remember when I was your age and I wanted to be hot like my idols on TV. It's a normal phase, honey. No matter what, I'm going to have to trim your hair a touch since you've got a lot of dead ends. When was your last haircut? Like 2 years ago, said Albert, smirking. I can tell, said Catherine, trimming ends now. Don't worry, I won't cut much, but I'll even it out, and then I have a few cute ideas for you. We don't have time to do much tonight anyway. You must have had really short hair a couple of years back. Yeah, it was bad, said Albert, relaxing a little. Catherine was snipping away as Albert looked at all the little wet hair clipping all over his cape. Catherine now began rubbing through his hair with her fingers, massaging in some styling product with her fingers, before switching on her blow dryer. She now began combing through it with her brush over and over, pulling it away from his face as she blowed it dry. She worked all around his head as she took a large clip, clipping the middle on the crown of his head. Okay, this will be cute with your dress, I think, said Catherine, walking behind him now as she took a 3/4-inch barrel curling iron from her vanity. I think this will be a nice girly girl look on you. Be still, because this thing is super hot. He watched in the mirror, struggling to see her work as she took about a 1-inch section between her fingers and thoroughly sprayed it before winding the iron into his hair behind his head. She now quickly spun the curling iron as he felt the tension against his scalp before she released it and grabbed the next section. After 10 minutes, she was finished at the back of his head as he began to see some rows of ringlets poking out behind each side of his neck as she moved them delicately with her fingers. She now placed her curling iron back on the vanity and stood in front of him, blocking his view into the mirror. He felt her remove the clip and now took a rat-tailed comb, picking at his roots and spraying them. As she worked her way through his layers, most of his loose hair fell in front of his face, before again she gathered it with her fingers. She now pulled it straight back, away from his face, picking at it with her fingers as he watched her take a large pink-laced bow from the bag. She now gently pulled a small section on each side of his face near his ear from her, gathering before finally popping open the metal clasp on the bow. He felt the back of the clasp dig into the crown of his head now, before he heard a double snap as she stepped back. She held her left hand now across his eyebrows, partially shielding his eyes for a moment now as she heavily sprayed the top of his head and pulled at it with her fingers. She gently took a comb just through the hair behind his forehead, and then put her hairdryer on low, heating it up before spraying it again. She now reapproached with her curling iron, lifting the hair behind the clip, sectioned it, and began again creating curls a half dozen more times. When she finished, she again put down the 3/4 iron and took a small comb, brushing the little section in front of each ear into her fingers. "I think she looks even younger now," said Leanne, stepping over to see him now as she was done. "It's cute on her right," said Catherine, again sectioning. "Adorable," said Mildred, peeking in now. "I could never have imagined it." "What does that mean, Grandma?" said Albert, getting upset as he turned towards her. "Haley, be still or you'll get burnt, honey," said Catherine, turning his face back towards her as she was about to grab a section near his ear. "This little iron is even hotter, so don't move." Catherine now took her large 1.5-inch barreled iron and quickly grabbed a section in front of his ear, winding it up after she sprayed it. "I can hardly wait to see her in the dress you bought her, Mildred," said Janice, who was behind him as he felt her lift a curl. "You better give me a granddaughter, Leanne, so I can spoil her rotten like this." "Well, even if I do, it's going to be a while, Janice," said Leanne, hating when Janice pressured her. "I know, so until then I'm going to make it a mission of mine to come spoil Haley from time to time," said Janice, rubbing his shoulders before walking away. "Be back in 5 minutes." Catherine began curling the other side now, as his nerves really raced now. "Okay, one more little twist, and you can get her dressed," said Catherine, before releasing the last curl. Quickly she picked at each side and again sprayed him all over one last time, before stepping out from in front of him. "Okay, take a peek," said Catherine, stepping out of his way now as he had full view of himself in the mirror. "Let me get a handheld mirror and show you how pretty the back came out, honey. Is this me?" said Albert, moving his head right and left, ready to cry as Catherine left for a moment. "I don't even recognize myself at all." "Yeah, it's you. Only you're a girly girl now, honey," teased Leanne. "Now behave, and get used to it." "So, do you like it, Haley?" said Catherine, returning with the mirror as she removed Albert's cape. "Your type of hair holds a curl nicely." Albert stared at the back of his head now, which was filled with precise ringlet after ringlet sitting one on top of the other as Catherine moved the mirror from side to side, revealing his hairdo. As she angled it upward slightly, he could see the large pink bow above the ringlets, whose clip held his hair tightly as it was pulled straight back off his face from his forehead. In front, she had created just a little poofy look as it was teased slightly before fading flatly into the bow, and in front of each ear, some small loose curls swayed in front of each ear. "We'll have a few really pretty options for your wedding hairdo, with hair like yours," said Catherine as she helped him out of the chair. "Have a nice time tonight, and here's the key to our dressing room. See you ladies again soon." "We'll be right out," said Mildred, taking the key in Albert's arm as she started walked. "I'll help you, Grandma," Leanne said, grabbing the bags as he followed her. We'll be right out. Beth and I will wait for you in the lobby, said Janice, stuffing a bill into Catherine's hand. I'll confirm a few things and we'll see you in a few minutes. Take your time, Mildred, as we are right on schedule. Thank you, dear, said Mildred, leading him into the dressing room and closing the door as Leanne followed her, carrying the bags inside. Leanne wasted no time stepping behind him, unzipping the cheerleader uniform and watching it hit the floor at his ankles now. Grandma, I want to go home, said Albert, tearing up. Please don't make me do this. Quiet and just do as you are told, said Mildred, taking some packages out of a bag. Sit down. Leanne pulled the uniform from around his ankles and untied his sneakers, before pulling off his socks and shoes. She then opened the first package, rolling some suntan stockings in her hand and gently sliding them on each foot. Stand up now, said Leanne, stretching the hose up past his waistline as she stretched and smoothed them carefully. He stood there nervously as he watched his grandmother take the large garment bag, opening it as Leanne now lifted it from the bag. Step into it gently, said Leanne, holding open a dress as he obeyed, stepping into it. It's delicate. Leanne now lifted it carefully up his body as his grandmother guided his arms through the simple ribbon-type shoulder strap. Mildred now gingerly lifted his hair in the back with her wrist, as he felt the dress suck him in as Leanne guided the zipper up his spine. When she finished, she gently rested his hair on his back before kneeling and straightening the hemline. One more moment, dear, said Mildred, touching up his lips, as he felt Leanne tugging at him from behind. Step into these, said Leanne, opening a box and holding his shoulder. These won't be hard to walk in. Okay, time for rehearsal, everyone, said Mildred, checking her watch and smiling at him. Just so you know, honey, I love you very much and this is a wonderful thing you are doing for your cousin. I know you are hating every moment of it, but in the end it will make you a better person. Mildred now guided him outside, as Leanne walked behind them. He was a little off balance in the low heels he had on, as he felt his ankle turning each time he moved. Point your toes forward, said Leanne, whispering. Doesn't matter if you wobble a little. You'll just be like any other little girl walking in a heel for the first time. Look, sweetie, said Mildred, bringing him to a floor-length mirror. Relax, you're a natural. Albert looked at himself, batting his dark eyelashes as he struggled to believe what had happened to him. The sensations around his body were overwhelming, as his senses were heightened as he felt like all eyes in the salon were on him. He turned his legs slightly, seeing how the little 1-inch heel made his calf muscle stiffen, and noticed how his dress flared out, making his waistline and flat chest look tiny. On his feet, he had on a simple little fuchsia pump with a thin yet low heel, and he was dressed in a very delicate A-line floral party dress which ended slightly below his knees. The dress's floral pattern mixed off-white with light and pale pink flowers, and flared out from his waistline outward. It was trimmed with a thick fuchsia ribbon across both shoulders, and a waistband which ended in a large bow on his back. Be still. It's crooked, said Leanne, as she stepped behind him, untying and readying the pink ribbon which was attached to his waistband. Oh, Mildred, said Janice, seeing him and running over. Is that a Jessica McClintock? Yes, she makes some beautiful stuff. Doesn't she? Said Mildred, flattered. Her work is so incredibly detailed. You know, I had the feeling you'd pick a dress like that for her, said Janice. Adorable. Well, the moment I saw the sleeveless princess-style taffeta dress, I fell in love with it. I love how the delicate printed floral fabric is coordinated with waist sash that is attached to dress, said Mildred, explaining her choice. I just thought it would be so cute on her. The way the waist is adorned with the coordinated flower pin on the sash and knotted in the back bow is a wonderful little touch, I thought, said Beth, chiming in. But my favorite little thing is the additional crinoline netting underneath the skirt that you added, puffing it up for that extra fullness. Well, it couldn't be more perfect with the hair, said Janice. I love the little kitten heels on her too. They're perfect with that dress. Well, let's get moving, ladies. They now went out and got into the car and headed to the church now. As they entered, they were greeted by the entire bridal party and Kenny's family as everyone hugged and kissed. Albert stood there, trying to stay in the background until the other girls started fussing over him. "You look amazing, Haley," said a young woman, hugging him tightly. "Do you remember me?" I'm not sure," said Albert, not knowing what to say. "It's okay, honey," said the girl. "I'm Mandy. I'm the maid of honor. You got so big, honey. Last time I saw you was a few years ago. You changed so much." "Oh, she really did. Didn't she?" said Leanne, grabbing Mandy and pulling her away. "Well, let's get started, everyone." The wedding coordinator now lined up everyone as Jonathan finally ran in. "Hey, Haley," said Jonathan, hugging him. "I just made it in time. I was at practice and had to shower and change." "Great," said Albert, sarcastically rolling his eyes as he looked away. "You look so different out of that cheerleader outfit," said Jonathan, looking him up and down as he was checking him out. "Stand straight, please, young man," said the wedding coordinator, straightening his tie. "I'm Penny and I'll be instructing you. Now hold out your arm and you hold it, young lady." Penny now positioned them, putting Albert's right fingers onto Jonathan's left bicep and then inserting a large silk bouquet in his other hand. "Now when the music comes, you will march slowly and smile at all times," said the coordinator, straightening Jonathan's jacket. "You two look very nice together." They practiced over and over before it finally ended and they headed to dinner. Albert quickly jumped into a seat between his grandmother and aunt, away from Jonathan. Dinner was long but uneventful and he was relieved when it finally ended. When they got back to Beth's house, Mildred took Albert upstairs and helped him get undressed, as he was mentally and physically exhausted. "This should work," said Leanne, coming in and tossing a long Jonas Brothers sleep shirt. "You must be kidding me," said Albert, as his grandmother pulled it over his head. "Where's my regular clothes?" "Honey, people will be in and out of the house until the wedding, so while you are here you will be Haley 100% of the time," Mildred told him as she began removing his makeup with a towelette. Mildred now removed the clip from his hair as he finally lay back. "Tomorrow's a new day," said Mildred, switching off the light. When he woke in the morning he wandered to the bathroom to urinate. "Aw, you sit from now on." "Understand," said Leanne, snapping at him. "Maybe even close the door? By the way, nice fro, cuz." Albert wiped his eyes, waking up now as he saw his reflection of a wild mess of unruly curls around his face. He wandered downstairs where the ladies were having coffee and sat down, pouring some cereal. "Better stick with poofy outfits, Grandma," said Leanne, looking at his slight package in the sleep shirt. "I'll find a loose top that he can at least wear for now." "Don't worry, some shopping is on our busy agenda today, dear, but that will be perfect for this morning if you can find me something like that," said Mildred, as she took away his cereal. "Come on, let's get you cleaned up, dear. I'll bring a better breakfast." Mildred walked upstairs and switched on the water to run the tub. She wasted no time pulling off his sleep shirt and tucked his hair inside the shower cap. "Come on, get in and relax," said Mildred, leading him to the tub. "You have nothing here that I haven't seen a million times before." Embarrassed now, he got into the scented bubble bath and she began washing him everywhere with a large green sponge. When she finished, she left for a few minutes before returning with a bowl of fruit and some yogurt, feeding him as he relaxed. "Okay, I left an outfit on the bed," said Leanne to her grandmother. "If you want, I'll brush him out and you can iron." "Sounds wonderful, dear," said Mildred, leaving the room. Leanne now placed a spray bottle, a wide-toothed brush and a comb on the edge of the tub, and sat down behind him. She removed his shower cap and picked through his hair a little before she began wetting it just a tad by spraying it. "Sit up a little," said Leanne, as she began running her brush through his messy head. "Ouch, this hurts," whined Albert. "Come on." "Shut up, baby," said Leanne, snapping at him. "I have to brush out all the hairspray and just make you at least presentable." Leanne sprayed and brushed away for 10 minutes, removing tangles, before sticking a plastic headband on his head holding his hair straight back behind his ears. When she finished, she pulled the plug on the tub and tossed Albert a towel. "Get dressed and I'll go do the same," said Leanne, leaving the room. "I'll be back in 5 minutes to help Grandma." Albert got out of the tub, wrapped the large fluffy white towel around him, and he re-entered the bedroom. On the bed he saw some black briefs which he pulled on and some basic-looking black sweats. "Pull on those leggings, dear," said Mildred, as she finished ironing a shirt as she brought it over. He pulled on the stretchy tight-fitting pants, which ended above his ankles, before she held open a shirt which she slipped over his head. Quickly she took her pencil to his eyes and added some mascara, before just rubbing on a touch of lip gloss. Leanne now returned with her hairdryer and some styling gel, as she removed his headband. She sat down on the bed next to him, filling her hands with gel and rubbed it into the front his hair. She parted his on the left and switched her hairdryer on low, moving around him and picking through his hair with her fingers. Gently now, she positioned a new headband on his head, adjusting it before kneeling and slipping some sandals on his feet. "Damn, this just gets weirder," said Albert, as he stood up now and he had a good view of himself in the dresser mirror, as Leanne now put 2 thick black bracelets on his right hand. He was dressed in simple black leggings, with a royal blue oversized t-shirt on top, which hung off one shoulder and ended mid-thigh. The shirt had gold embroidery all over it on it in a funky design, and was pinched in around his waist with a thick black belt with a gold buckle. On his feet, he had on gold gladiator sandals which zipped up the back, and around his neck was a series of black, small diamond-shaped beads. His tight ringlets had been brushed out into a damp wavy look which was parted to the left, and pulled back a touch behind a thick royal blue headband which had a matching attached flower offset to the left. They ran out the door, with Beth joining them, as they were off to run some wedding errands. They stopped to verify the flowers, before meeting with the DJ, then arriving at a very formal dress shop. "Okay, moment of truth, Albert," said his grandmother, slipping with his name, before catching himself. "Sorry, I mean Haley." "I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this fits," said Leanne. "If it doesn't, I don't know what to do." They entered excitedly as the saleswoman greeted them. She went into the back room and returned with a large white garment bag, handing it to Mildred. "Hey Haley," said Jonathan, spotting him as he came over. "I'm here to do my final fitting too." "So how cute are you, Haley," said a woman. "I'm Jonathan's mom, honey. My name is Adriana. You must have made quite an impression on him, as he hasn't stopped talking about you for a minute." "Hello, Leanne." Adriana hugged Leanne as she introduced her to her family, before Mildred took Albert in the back to try on his dress. His grandmother helped him undress as he sat there now in his underwear as she slipped some little pads on his bare feet. Next she opened his shoebox and helped slide the little low-heeled open-toed sandals on his feet. When she finished, she ever so gently dropped the delicate dress over his head and slipped his arms into it. She now straightened it everywhere and checked it over before he felt her fastening one little clasp after another from behind. "Go outside and show your cousin, please," said Mildred, smiling at him. "I think she'll be pleased." His grandmother took his hand and led him outside too. Smiles filling everyone's faces. "Oh, thank you. Thank goodness," cried Leanne, tearing up. "Spin for me, Haley," said Beth, checking every detail. So it fits her well, ladies, said the saleswoman, checking the waist and neckline. Let me get the headpiece and let's get a full viewing. Albert looked around, seeing all eyes on him as he tried to avoid eye contact. In a moment, he felt his headband being removed before feeling the combs digging into his scalp of the ribbon on his ears as he stood motionless. So is this similar to the hair you were doing on her on the wedding day, said the saleswoman. I'm not sure yet, why, said Leanne, as the woman removed the headpiece and replaced it with another. This would go better if you were going with a loose, wavy thing, said the saleswoman, as Leanne made a face. It's less formal. No, I like the one I picked before, please, said Leanne. See, that one is made if you do a little tiara, bump up the hair behind it, and is really best behind a sweep or bangs, said the saleswoman. I'll show you. The saleswoman took down a small sparkling tiara type and pulled some of Albert's hair from behind across his forehead, partially covering one eye before she pinned it behind his ear. She then inserted the tiara and then the headpiece, and turned around to see Leanne's reaction. Here's an idea if you do a sweep or side bang, said the woman. I think you have to keep it simple and not make it look too mature. And I would also suggest doing some little white flowers in the hair. Sold, that's beautiful on her, said Leanne, wasting not a second. Let me call Catherine and I'll bring it over there, and we'll see what she thinks we should do. The saleswoman quickly boxed it up as Mildred took Albert back to change. When they came out, Beth and Leanne were gone as they were greeted by Adriana. So Mildred, Leanne asked me to drop you guys at the mall and she'll pick you up at 1 p.m., said Adriana. She said you have a little shopping to do for her. Oh, that's not necessary, I can grab a cab, dear, said Mildred. Absolutely not. We are family now, said Adriana. I have some errands to run there as well, and the kids can go in the arcade while we shop. Wonderful idea, said Mildred, taking Albert's hand. Thank you so much, dear. Albert sat in the back of the car now, staring out the window as the ride was luckily short. When they got there, they walked inside the arcade as Mildred handed Albert a 20. He put his 20 into the machine and received more quarters than he could hold. We'll see you two later, said Adriana, hugging Jonathan. Wait, Grandma. I have no pockets, said Albert, with the 2 hands full of quarters. I'll hold them for her, said Jonathan, helping Albert and filling his pockets. Good, we'll see you two in an hour or so, said Mildred, leaving now. They now both played their games. Every so often Jonathan would give Albert some change as they basically kept busy. After 20 minutes, when he finished playing a few games, he stood behind Jonathan as he waited to get more change. Hey, I could use a dance partner for Dance Revolution, said a strange guy, coming up to Albert. Want to play? No thanks, said Albert, looking straight ahead. Come on, I'm paying, said the guy, pulling Albert's arm. Easy, I'm not into dancing right now, said Albert, pulling away. Okay, little diva, said the guy, getting pissed off and pulling off his headband and dropping it to the floor. Oops. That's not cool, dude, said Jonathan, getting upset, turning around and pushing the guy. She said no. Really? I think your little girlfriend is dying to dance with me, said the guy, pushing him back. She's been eyeing me up big time. Within a moment, they were wrestling on the floor as Jonathan went right into protection mode. Suddenly, another guy jumped on top of them as it was quickly 2-on-1 before Albert now got involved, jumping on the second guy. Get off, bitch, before you break a nail, said the second guy, pushing him to the floor. As Albert hit the floor, security jumped in. Quickly they separated the kids as the 2 instigators were removed from the arcade. What happened? Said Adriana, as they quickly entered the arcade, seeing security bringing people out. Are you guys okay? We're fine, said Jonathan. Just some guys were being jerks to Haley. Thank goodness, said Mildred, looking into Albert's eyes as she reinserted his headband and smoothed his hair. Well, no black eyes or Leanne will have a heart attack. Well, I think she's going to need a new top, said Adriana, touching the rip in Albert's sleeve. Oh my, said Mildred, also seeing his ripped knee. Adriana, may I trouble you to drop Haley off down the block for her appointment while I finish my errands for Leanne? I'll need to now expand my shopping and find her something else to wear. That's no problem, Mildred, said Adriana, taking Albert's hand. I'm here to help in this busy time, and she's no trouble at all. Albert looked back as his grandmother hurried off, and he was being led off with Adriana and Jonathan. She drove him only 5 minutes and pulled up at the salon. Wait in the car, Jonathan. I'll be right back, said Adriana, as Albert stepped out. I'm here again, said a surprised Albert as they walked into the salon. Why now? I don't know, dear. I'm just the driver, said Adriana, as the receptionist came over now. Hello again, Haley, said the young lady. Leanne is in the back and Katrina will be with you in a moment. Come with me and I'll wash your hair. Albert now followed her and knew the drill as he sat down. She wrapped a cape around him and lowered back his chair, switching on the water. His hair fully hung into the sink as she began massaging his scalp. He could smell the lovely fragrant smell as he relaxed for a few minutes as she massaged and rinsed over and over, until she switched off the water and opened his eyes to see Leanne staring down at him. So, how are you, cuz? Said Leanne, looking down at him with her head filled with large rollers. Heard you had a little problem this morning. Fighting is not very ladylike, you know? How did you hear that already, and why am I here again? Snapped Albert. Well, Grandma gave me a quick buzz because I'm going to need to help you change later, said Leanne. And you are here because we need to do a few practice hairdos with your headpiece, so tomorrow morning Katrina will know exactly what to do. Plus your nails are a disaster and Grandma's too busy helping me to be babysitting you anyway. Remember, tomorrow's my big day. Yeah, I remember, said Albert in nasty tone. I'm dying to get this shit over with and I don't need a babysitter. I could just sit at your house and be left alone playing video games. Well, that's not going to happen, said Leanne, getting annoyed. You're getting a manicure today, and you'll ruin it on those stupid little games. Oh, thank goodness, here comes Katrina. Hey, Haley, said Katrina, wrapping his head in a towel as he sat him up. I'm getting so excited for you ladies. Come on, sweetie. Katrina brought Albert to her chair and wrapped another plastic cape around his neck. Leanne opened a large shopping bag and took out a box, handing it to Katrina. She opened it, studying the headpiece, weighing her options in her mind. She now removed the towel from his head and combed through his hair, pushing it right and left and then up and down as she experimented a bit. She turned, discussing the options with Leanne, as Albert couldn't really hear their conversations before they finally finished chatting. Do it. I want my wedding to be perfect, said Leanne, smirking at her cousin as she walked across the room and pulled a large bonnet down over her head, taking a magazine. Albert stared straight ahead into the mirror, struggling to see through his dangling wet hair which hung in front of his eyes now. Within a minute, Katrina returned, placing a plastic cap on his head before taking a small metal tool, pulling at small strands of his hair. She worked from behind, tugging small section after section through the cap as he sat there, wondering what she was doing. She moved to the left now, continuing before finally moving in front as she finally removed the hair from his eyes as she stood in front of him. She straightened his face as he looked over, as she was mixing some chemicals. He could smell the pungency of something. She inserted her hands in plastic gloves and began brushing at his head. After 10 minutes, she took a dark blue plastic bonnet covering his head before tapping his thigh to get up. He followed her now to a nail station, as a young woman immersed his feet in some water as she went to work on his left hand. He watched as she shaped and buffed his nail, before seeing a small round tip being glued onto his pinky as she moved to the next finger. He looked up now, feeling the warmth on his head as Katrina connected a tube to his plastic cap and switched on some warm air. He looked down and to his left as his left foot was being removed from the water and swung slightly over as another person was working on his toes. His senses were amazingly heightened as he watched them fill his nail with some gel and watched as she was transforming his fingers. After 10 minutes, his hand was under a dryer as Katrina returned and checked his hair. "Not bad," said Katrina, really turning up the heat now. "The timing should work out nicely." He sat there, feeling a flip-flop on each foot as his second hand was finally put under the dryer. She painted again at his first hand as looked down seeing clear gloss being added to his now French manicure. After another 5 minutes, the hairdryer switched off as Katrina removed the bonnet, allowing his head to breathe. He sat there cooling off, as she glossed up his other hand, before Katrina took his forearm as he stood up. "Keep your fingers out and don't touch anything with those nails," said Katrina, leading him back to the sink. "Sit back, dear." Katrina now washed his hair again as he held up his right hand, looking at his nails. He tilted them, seeing the shine as Mildred appeared before his face looking down at him. "They look wonderful, dear," said his grandmother. "I left your outfit with Leanne, and she'll help you. I have a million more things to do and Adriana will be back for you later. Please be on your best behavior." "Wait," whined Albert, "Grandma, wait." "Sit back," said Katrina, pushing back his forehead. "Relax or you'll get stuff in your eyes, and we'll have a major problem." Katrina now rinsed his hair over and over before finally switching off the water. She squeezed the excess water from his hair with her palms and then wrapped his head in a towel. She now took him to a makeup station and studied him as Leanne joined her. Leanne now was all made up and her hair was parted down the middle and in loose long waves. "So are we keeping it young and fresh or do you want an older look now?" said Katrina, rubbing on some foundation. "No, I think she will look more appropriate with a younger look," said Leanne. "You know, especially with the dress and headpiece." "Okay, then I have a few ideas to try," said Katrina. "I just have to thin these out though. They look horrible. Is that okay?" "I thought you'd never ask," said Leanne, smiling as Katrina rubbed at his brows as she leaned his chair back. "Wow," whined Albert as she ripped off the wax. "No." "Ouch. Please." "Sorry, honey," said Katrina, hugging him. "Beauty hurts sometimes, but you'll get used to it as you get older. I'm not doing anything radical here, so don't get worried. When you get to high school, we can really thin them out. I'm just shaping a bit. It's no biggie." She now took her tweezers and made a few fine adjustments as Albert took some relief in her explanation. She picked up her pace, working quickly with her pencil under his eyes and then with her wand on his lashes. She jumped back and forth, working on his lids before brushing at his cheeks until she was finally satisfied and took a small brush to his lips, before stepping back and appreciating her work. "Okay, let's see what we can do with the hair," said Katrina, leading him back to her chair. Albert caught a glimpse of himself in the mirror as he sat down in her chair, as she spun him away from view. He could see that he was heavily made up now like a porcelain doll and caught a good glimpse of his thinner brows. Katrina switched on her hairdryer, blowing it all around his head as she completely dried his hair. She inserted and removed the headpiece 4 or 5 times as she experimented with his hair, pinning and clipping it many different ways as she discussed options with Leanne. She curled a section and then flat ironed and then teased as he sat there, anxious for this to end for over 45 minutes of experimenting. "Well, I think we're close, but I think she'll look younger without the sweeping across her face." I'm not loving that with this headpiece, said Katrina, looking at Leanne as she held out some of his hair, tugging it in different directions. I can pull it back like yesterday, but keep it flat. You want youngish, right? What I want is the most beautiful flower girl on earth, but I really do want her to look young and innocent, said Leanne, sternly. She looks too preteen to me. You teased too much and I think her makeup is too dark. I'm just not loving this look. Okay, don't stress, Leanne, said Katrina, giggling as she grabbed a wipe to his lips. Let me take it down a notch and then I can adjust from there. Katrina now took her large palette of eye color and again worked on his lids. She wiped at his cheeks and then took a little brush and painted his lips as he watched his cousin analyze every little touch at his face. Better, said Leanne, lifting Albert's face as she studied him. I want that little princess look for her. That's what I picture walking down the aisle. Yep. I got it, said Katrina, grabbing a large section of his hair and securing it on top of his head. I can do that. I bet you looked cute on Halloween as one of those little princesses when you were young, Haley. Let's do something like that. You lose that bet, said Albert sarcastically. She's different now, Katrina, said Leanne, shooting Albert a killer look. She's a bit of late bloomer. Really, said Katrina, as she now again dropped the headpiece on his head and used a number of clips. But now that I think about that and remember your hair when you first got here, I kind of understand. I was a bit of a tomboy for a while when I was young too. But don't worry, honey, I'll bring out that princess in you. Albert almost killed his cousin with the look he shot over at her, as Katrina again took off his headpiece. She moved all around him now, combing a lot of Albert's hair into her fingers straight down all around him and in front of his face. She now grabbed all of his hair except for the front and held it up, staring at Leanne. So I can go all up and do each curl pin together, or I can do half up half down and both will work with the headpiece, said Katrina. What we can do tomorrow is start at the crown, and then if you want to leave some on the sides and back down, then we can really be perfectionists. See, now we are on the same page, Leanne said. But not with the sweep. I hate it on her. Okay, I can pull back like yesterday, or just eliminate it and curl them under, said Katrina, now playing with the front of his hair. She'll definitely look younger if I fluff them out and go straight across. I think she'd look adorable with the Cinderella type thing, especially with the headpiece, but I know girls can be funny about that, especially if they've grown them out for a long time. Not Haley, said Leanne, reaching under his cape and pinching his thigh right near his crotch. She's on board with whatever I think is best for my wedding. Right, honey? Yes, cuz, said Albert, squeaking like a mouse. Of course. Okay, then let's get moving before the clock strikes midnight, said Katrina, glancing at her watch. Adriana's going to be back here in like 10 minutes and I know you ladies have a schedule to keep. She now inserted her round brush across his forehead a couple of inches back from his hairline and dropped some hair straight down in front of his eyes. She then brushed the rest back into her palm and dug a large clip into his scalp. He looked up, seeing her comb through it past his chin before he now rolled his eyes up, seeing the blade of her scissors pass at his brow level as his vision suddenly cleared. Quickly now, she took her round brush and blow dryer and rolled it under on his forehead before circling his head, brushing very hard through his hair as she worked. When she switched it off, he watched her walk behind him with her flat iron, now pulling tightly at sections of his hair. She moved all around him now, brushing from right to left as she carefully worked, as he felt her fingers through this hair. She now stepped out in front of him, spraying his hair as Adriana now appeared in his vision. Almost ready, girls, said Adriana, chiming in. She looks wonderful, Katrina. Just another SEC, okay, said Katrina, now approaching him with a large, thick curling iron. No worries, said Adriana. I already dropped off Jonathan. I figured you'd need some extra time. When we get there, we get there. 30 more seconds and she can get dressed and you guys are out of here, said Katrina, spinning his chair towards the mirror. Don't flinch, Haley. This type of iron is super hot. She now rolled her iron under on his forehead as he could hear his hair actually sizzle. When she finished, she took out her hairspray, liberally spraying his head. As she moved around towards his left, he could see the dramatic changes they had made on him. His hair was now pinned straight and filled with golden highlights. He nervously looked at his softly curled, thick bangs on his forehead as Katrina inserted a delicate little butterfly clip on the right side of his temple, as his hair was parted on the left. See, that clip matched the outfit you got her. Katrina touched his lips now with her brush. Consider it my little gift for being so patient, Haley. Thank you, said Albert, as Leanne nudged him to speak. Come on, you are making Adriana late, said Leanne, as Katrina took off his cape. I'll help her and we'll be right back. Leanne dragged him into the changing room, grabbing the shopping bags. Quickly she stripped off his clothing as he stood in only his underwear as Leanne held out some red panties. How cute are these, said Leanne, teasing him as she took hold of his underwear. Leanne, please. Look at me, said Albert, standing naked. This is insane now. And you cut my hair. Curls I know would wash out, but look at this. Albert reached up, pulling his new bangs, which were perfectly rounded just above his neatly shaped eyebrows. He now lifted the ends of his pin-straight hair, which had been shortened just a touch, but were now precisely even all the way across his shoulders and back and sparkled with new golden highlights everywhere. Shut up, or next time I'll have Katrina cut off way more and give you a cute little bob. Maybe even a perm, because I think you'd make a cute little Shirley Temple, especially now that she frosted your hair, said Leanne, holding out the panties. Now just step in and don't give me any trouble or I'll pinch off something else this time. I don't need any more stress than I already have on the day before my wedding. Albert lifted his left leg and then his right as his cousin enjoyed pulling them tightly up, giving him a wedge before having him step into some stockings. She then knelt and slipped some shoes onto his feet as she crisscrossed some straps and buckled them, before sliding a skirt up his legs. As she stood, she took his arms and inserted them into a little red training bra and secured the clasp on his back, before gingerly pulling a top over his head and straightening it as she pulled it down across his belly button. Damn, you really are a cutie, teased Leanne, grabbing his arm as she slipped a pocketbook on his forearm as she spun him to the mirror. Keep your forearms straight and just let the straps of the bag rest near your elbow when you walk, honey. If you do that with your shoes and the skirt, you'll have the walk down. Albert stared at himself in the mirror, looking at his image in a little ruffled denim skirt. His legs looked like little twigs in his tan tights, and above his strappy beige espadrilles, which elevated him 2 inches, had crisscrossed laces which were tied in a little bow above his ankles. On top he had on a red short-sleeved t-shirt which was decorated with little pink and mauve hearts and had a rounded neckline. Please, Leanne, whined Albert, swaying to see his reflection. It looks like I have little boobs now and these shoes. This whole thing is a disaster. Disaster. Please, it's adorable on you. There's not a girl your age who isn't wearing a training bra at this time, said Leanne, smiling. You look cute with a little push-up, honey. Grandma's got some taste. That's what she bought you, so that's what you're wearing, and I really love it on you. He moved his right arm now, sliding his juicy handbag off his forearm and opening it and noticing how it contained a makeup case, 2 different brushes, hairspray, tissues, and an assortment of gum and mints. Here, put these in there too, said Leanne, spraying his neck with some perfume before dropping it and a little change purse in his bag. I gave you some money just in case. In case of what? Whined Albert. Are you not going to be with me? Not all night. I'm coming with you for a little while now, but I can't babysit you all day and night, said Leanne, waving her finger at him. I have more shit to do today than you can even imagine, and I'm on a tight schedule. Now walk gingerly in those shoes until you get used to them, although it won't be harder than walking in those ugly hockey skates. Albert followed Leanne into the lobby and over to Adriana. Come on, sweetie, said Adriana. We'll need to hustle to get there on time. Adriana took him by the arm and out to their car. He sat alone in the back as Leanne got in the front with Adriana. They stopped to pick up Janice, as excitedly she got in the car, giving them a big hug. Oh, Haley. You look adorable. I love this on you, said Janice, hugging him and touching his hair. I am going to love having you in the family. I am going to enjoy spoiling you. Easy on her, Janice, said Leanne, butting in. She's shy and kind of sensitive and not used to that type of attention. Oh, Leanne, please, said Janice, shooting her a look. Don't worry, I'll be spoiling my daughter-in-law as well. Try not to be too jealous of this little cutie. Okay, ladies, Adriana told them as she parked. Here are your tickets. Albert looked down at his ticket, stunned as they exited the car. We are going to a hockey game, said Albert, looking up at a small skating rink. Yup, said Adriana. We are here to support Jonathan. Hopefully we can do things like this in the future together, as a family. Jonathan told me you loved skating, so I figured you'd enjoy this more than running errands with Mildred and Beth. They walked inside, sitting down across the rink from the benches as Jonathan's team now came on the ice. He waved at them as they warmed up, before suddenly Albert's eyes widened, seeing the opposing team hit the ice. Easy. Holy crap, said Leanne, immediately squeezing his hand before whispering in his ear. I didn't know that he was playing them. Grandma told me that my game was changed, whined Albert in his cousin's ear. Sorry, she didn't lie, said Leanne, whispering in his ear as she dug into his wrist. I lied to her about your game change. I couldn't risk you leaving to play when I needed you for fittings and appointments, but I didn't know you'd be playing against Jonathan's team. I didn't even know you two were in the same league. Now just suck it up and sit here like a nice young lady. Albert sat there watching his team play, unable to help or even root for them. He felt helpless as he couldn't believe how good Jonathan was as he dominated Albert's team. After 2 periods, Jonathan had 2 goals and his team was losing 2-0. As the game wound down, Albert sat there dejected as Jonathan banged in his 3rd goal and was mobbed by his team, scoring a hat trick with just over a minute to play. He grabbed the puck and raised his stick and skated over towards the ladies, smiling. Thanks for coming, everyone, said Jonathan, flipping the puck over the glass to Albert and blowing them a kiss. This one's for you, Haley. Albert almost vomited as he caught the puck as everyone applauded. He now looked up, seeing some of his teammates staring at him as he sat there nervously as they just shook their heads looking dejected. After a minute, the horn finally sounded as he felt relieved that it was finally over. Leanne grabbed a phone call and walked away as he waited patiently to finally leave. Within 10 minutes, Jonathan emerged from the locker room in full uniform, excited about the victory as he hugged everyone. You were wonderful, dear, said Adriana, hugging him. Good game, said Albert, reluctantly. Thanks so much, Haley, said Jonathan, hugging him. So, Mom, can we stay for family skate? Please. Dear, Leanne has to leave and get ready for later, said Adriana. We just don't have too much time. It's okay, Adriana. Let them skate, said Leanne. Let him celebrate his victory. I just talked to Kenny and he's going to pick me up here and drop me home early so we have a little bit of time. Oh, I'd love to skate, but I'd catch a cold in this little t-shirt out there, said Albert, happily making an excuse. I'm feeling so chilly, so we'll do it some other time. Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't get you sick before tomorrow, said Jonathan, ripping off his jersey and dropping it over Albert's head. Here, this will keep you warm while I go change. Janice now whispered into Leanne's ear as she whispered back. Albert waited patiently to leave, standing there daydreaming as he looked down at the puck, stuck now wearing Jonathan's jersey. I'll get that asshole next time, said a voice walking past him as he immediately recognized it as one of his teammates. He looked up as his teammates now all walked past him one by one carrying their equipment as they headed for the bus, not recognizing him as he stood there trying to avoid eye contact. Maybe you'll try a real man soon, said the last boy, touching his ass as he passed Albert. That asshole is like a cradle robber. True, she looks so young, but she's pretty cute, said another boy walking with him. I'd take her out. Me too, said the other boy as they exited out the door. She's got that innocent but naughty look. It's hot. Albert shook it off and took a deep breath, relieved they were gone, as Jonathan finally appeared in his street clothes, carrying his equipment. Too bad we can't skate together. That would have been fun, said Jonathan. Yeah, oh well, said Albert, relieved. Wait, said Janice, running over with 2 shopping bags. Janice to the rescue. Haley, dare you take this bag and go to the ladies' room and change? They had some gorgeous stuff in the gift shop and Leanne gave me your sizes. I bought everyone some skates because those rentals were absolutely hideous. Haley, now the outfit may be a bit much for just a family skate, but I bought you something adorable that you can wear now and then, or maybe in one of your competitions. I heard you love the ice, so let's not waste this little chance for a family skate. This will be so much fun. Leanne grabbed the 2 bags and glanced inside. Janice, thank you so much. You really shouldn't have, said Leanne, smirking. Now this is totally unexpected, but will be so much fun. Please. I am so loving this chance to spoil Haley, said Janice, grinning. I've been waiting years for a young lady in our family like her. I'm just going to put your jersey in your bag, Jonathan, said Leanne, pulling Jonathan's jersey off of Albert. She won't need it now. You guys put your sakes on and we'll meet you on the ice in 5 minutes. Leanne opened Jonathan's large hockey bag, quickly rummaged through it a bit, and neatly placed Jonathan's jersey inside as she zipped it. She took her cousin by the hand and went into Lady's room, closing the handicap stall behind them. What was that about? Said Albert as he looked at her. Now I have to change and skate. Sit down and get undressed, said Leanne, being pushy. I don't have too much time for all this with her or with you. She's such a pain in the ass. Let's go have a skate and then we'll be out of here. I have a schedule to keep which she doesn't care about. Now sit and pee just in case. Leanne quickly helped drop his skirt and pantyhose as he sat down peeing as she turned her back. After he flushed, she helped him off with his shoes and tossed his clothes aside as he was naked except for his top now. She opened her purse, pulling out a large white flat sanitary napkin and then slipped her hand into the first shopping bag, producing a white roll of tape. Hockey tape? Said Albert, confused. You snatched that from his bag? Why? And what is that? Because otherwise we'll have a little bulge problem with you in the skating outfit she bought you. And this is just a pad we use during our time of the month. In your case, it's for some help and containment, said Leanne, kneeling down in front of him. Now just shut up and don't move. Leanne ripped 4 pieces of tape and tacked them to the wall. She now pushed everything back with her sanitary napkin, before taking a piece of tape and stretching it between his legs. She repeated this over and over until she now opened the package of beige dance skins and he stepped into them. She tugged at them, making sure everything was held in place and nice and smooth. What if I have to go to the bathroom? Said Albert nervously. You just went. But if you have to, you just pull back the tape a little, I guess, said Leanne, chuckling as she removed his bra. Now let's get your outfit and skates on. Oh come on, whined Albert as she now took out his bright white leather figure skates from the bag. Please, that's nothing, said Leanne, removing his outfit from the bag and held it open for him to step into. Wait until you get a look at yourself in this. Albert's eyes bulged out of his head as Leanne lifted his left leg, dropping it into his outfit. He was in total shock as she quickly inserted his right leg, seeing the ultra-tight leotard-type fabric stretch to his body as it moved up his chest. Come on, sit down, said Leanne, adjusting the long sleeves on his arm as she slipped on the first skate. She tied it tightly and then slipped on the other as he stared at the cuff of his sleeve, which was outlined in feathers. She quickly now inserted her feet in her own skates, lacing them up before snickering as she looked at him. Sorry, said Leanne, looking away as she struggled to control herself as she opened the stall door. Let's go, Peggy Fleming. I'm not doing this, screamed Jonathan, catching his full reflection now as he stepped out. No way. I don't give a shit anymore. I look like you cut off my... Everything all right, ladies, said Janice, as she came in now. I thought I heard a yell. Jonathan's face was bright red now as he looked at himself in his over-the-top skating costume that Janice had purchased for him. The costume was a form-fitting lycra bodysuit in pearl white, which was decorated in tiny white sequins which formed a bustier shape on top and ended in a tiny offset 3-inch double-ruffled skirt. The long sleeves had white feathered cuffs at the end, and in his hair a matching feathered clip next to his part. His legs looked fully bare in the tan danskins above his bright white leather skates, but his eyes were focused on his now fully concealed crotch area. Everything is fine, Janice, said Leanne, staring down Albert. Haley is just too excited. She wanted to look perfect. Oh, Haley. You look fabulous, said Janice, hugging him. You are almost perfect, except Leanne ignored a few important details. Sometime Leanne misses some details, but of course I'm here to help you, my little buttercup. She can be a little self-absorbed at times. Leanne turned away, ready to explode at her future mother-in-law, and took a deep breath, composing herself. Albert nervously stood there as Janice removed a little case from the shopping bag and took a small brush to his eyelids. She then adjusted the clip in his hair, digging the comb in firmly before opening a little tub and brushing on his lips. Let's go have some fun now, dear, said Janice, taking his hand. This outfit looks like it was made for you. Albert got a brief glance at his face as she pulled him from the ladies' room, seeing that his eyelids were coated with a pink glitter and his lips sparkled. They made their way onto the ice now, and immediately Albert felt like many eyes were on him. Amazing, said Jonathan, skating up to him and taking his hand. Come on, take a lap of 2 with me. You look like you should be in the ice capita or something. Albert looked over at his cousin as she offered him no support at all now, as Adriana, Janice, and Leanne skated behind Jonathan and himself. As they circled the ice, he watched his former teammates staring him up and down as he had absolutely nowhere to hide. He could feel the cold on his legs and weird sensations between his legs as he skated. This is better than any hat trick I ever scored, said Jonathan, now slipping his fingers between his. You really do skate well. You glide. It's obvious you really are a great skater. Thanks, said Albert, rolling his eyes. Why is that team still here? Look, they're leaving now, said Jonathan, looking over. I heard their bus had a flat. Good, they were staring at us, said Albert meekly. Probably just hating me or being jealous that they can't skate with the beautiful ice dancer that I'm looking at right now, said Jonathan as he suddenly skated in front of Albert and was staring at him as he skated backwards now. Yeah, hating you then it is, said Albert, watching the guys look over their shoulders as they headed out now. Okay, here goes, said Jonathan, without hesitation now as he grabbed Albert at the hips and lifted him from the ground and began spinning. Albert looked down at him, ready to puke as they spun over and over until the ice patrol came over interrupting. No ice dancing please, said an old Soviet woman. This is open skate and you could knock down inexperienced skaters. You make a beautiful couple but save it for your competition and not open skate please. Sorry ma'am, said Jonathan, placing Albert on the ice. Happy to be free, Albert skated ahead now mingling in with the other ladies and finally the free skate ended 5 minutes later. Leanne skated over, seeing Kenny there to pick her up and immediately embraced him. So let me help Haley change and we can hit the road, said Leanne, kissing him again. We're late hon, said Kenny, waving at Albert. My mom will help her. We've gotta go now. See you tomorrow, Haley. Okay hon, just one sec, said Leanne, hugging Albert and whispering in his ear. Just go in the stall yourself and keep her outside. You can change yourself anyway. It'll be my pleasure to help her, said Janice, taking his hand. Come on darling. They walked into the ladies' room together and Albert walked with his shopping bag into the handicap stall. I'll be okay Janice, said Albert as he nervously wandered in, locking the door. He quickly slipped out of the costume and skates and proceeded to attempt to remove the tape. Ouch, said Albert, immediately stopping as it ripped at his skin. Are you okay dear, said Janice. What happened? Oh, I'm fine Janice, said Albert. I thought I broke a nail but I didn't. Be careful dear, said Janice. You're just now used to having those little tips, but trust me when you get older you won't know how to live without them. Albert quickly pulled on his tights and then his skirt. He struggled to snap his bra behind his back, and he finally got it before pulling on his top and slipping into his shoes. When he exited, Janice immediately wiped off his sparkling lipstick and glittery eyeshadow and replaced them with the simple natural colors in his purse. She then straightened his bangs and removed the feathered clip. She brushed and sprayed his hair before taking his arm as they walked out. Have fun you two, and see you tomorrow bright and early Haley, said Janice, hugging him. Wait, where am I going? Said Albert. You're not driving me home now? No, not right now, said Adriana. Tonight is Leanne's bachelorette party. Janice and your grandmother are going to at least the early part of it. You're going to have dinner with Jonathan and me and then I bought you 2 tickets to a movie. Have fun, said Janice, running out. Bye-bye. An already beaten down Albert walked with Adriana to her car. They drove to a nice restaurant and sat for dinner. They mostly had small talk as Albert had very little appetite knowing he was stuck with Jonathan. Finally dinner ended and Adriana dropped them off at the movies. What are we going to see? Said Albert, just happy to be able to sit and not have conversation. Twilight, said Jonathan. It's supposed to be a cool vampire movie. Okay, said Albert, thinking to himself at least it's not a chick flick. They entered the theater and Jonathan bought them sodas and a large bucket of popcorn. He held it on his lap as Albert was actually starving now after not having much dinner and started eating. After about a half an hour into the movie, he felt something on his shoulder and glanced back seeing Jonathan's left hand on his chair as his arm was stretched behind him. He looked over at Jonathan, rolling his eyes and inching forward as Jonathan was ignoring him watching the movie. He slid himself away towards the other side of the chair, before about 15 minutes later he felt his hair being touched. He glanced out of the corner of his eye seeing Jonathan's left thumb playfully twirling his hair as he again moved back the other way, leaning forward to sip his soda. There's something about a girl's lipstick on her straw you know, said Jonathan. Back in a bit, said Albert, quickly getting up. I have to pee. Albert quickly hustled down the stairs of the theater, knocking the popcorn all into Jonathan's lap. He ran down into the lobby, looking for change to call his grandmother when a guy approached him. "Want to use my cell?" said the guy. "No thank you," said Albert, avoiding eye contact. "You're looking fine, honey," said the guy. "What's your name?" "I'm just looking to make a call, okay?" said Jonathan, turning his back now. "Come on. Don't be like that," said the guy. "I remember you from the game today. You were the best thing about that game." Albert peeked over his shoulder, recognizing the voice was Ricky from his team as he caught a glimpse of him as he walked away. He walked as fast as he could as he felt a hand grab his arm. "Forget that fag boyfriend of yours," said Ricky, spinning him towards him. "Try a real man like me." Suddenly Albert found his teammate's lips on his as he grabbed him and planted a kiss on his lips, while he pinned him against the wall. He then felt another yank as Jonathan pulled him away and pushed the guy off of him. "She said no, asshole," said Jonathan, putting his arm around him. "Please don't, Jonathan," said Albert, pulling him back into the theater. "We want no trouble. Calm down. Please calm down. Come on." Albert tightly took his hand and headed back to the seats as he did his best to calm down Jonathan. He rubbed his back gently, and then sat back to watch the movie. "Thanks, but I'm okay," whispered Albert into Jonathan's ear as he patted his leg. "Please promise me no fighting. I can't be the cause of that." "Okay, but on one condition," said Jonathan. "What's that?" said Albert. "Don't make me that worried about you again," said Jonathan, leaning in towards Albert. "My family would kill me if I let anything happen to you, okay?" said Albert. "I'll try, I guess." "Good, because I'm more of a lover than a fighter anyway," said Jonathan as he put his arm around him, and as Albert had no choice but to let him gently rub his shoulders. "Well, that's better," said Albert, trying to ignore the touching. "We'll both be killed if anyone gets a black eye before this wedding. It's an obsession for my cousin." "You're right, but I have a different obsession," said Jonathan, leaning and attempting to kiss Albert as his eyes almost bugged out of his head. Jonathan softly swished his lips as he froze for a moment, stunned before feeling Jonathan's tongue quickly enter his mouth. Albert panicked now and turned quickly, pulling his face away. "Easy there, Jonathan," said Albert, pushing him back. "What are you doing?" "Sorry, I've never been on a date before," said Jonathan, stuttering. "And you're not on one now," said Albert, ready to explode. "Who said this was a date?" Uttered Jonathan. "Please, don't be mad. I guess it's just that you are so cool and so pretty. Sorry, I just got caught up after seeing you make out with that other guy." "I made out with no one. What's with you guys trying to just kiss people?" "It's gross," said Albert nastily. "And as far as I know, I'm not allowed to date. Now let's just finish watching the movie." Finally the movie ended and they walked outside and got into Adriana's car. "So did you two have a nice time together tonight?" said Adriana, looking into her rear-view mirror at them. "Yes, nice movie," said Albert, looking out the window. "Thank you." "Good, then let's get you two some rest because tomorrow is a big day," said Adriana. It was a quiet ride the rest of the way as Adriana pulled up at Leanne and Beth's home. Adriana helped Albert carry in all his bags as his grandmother opened the door. "Thank you so much for treating Haley to a wonderful night tonight, Adriana," said Mildred, hugging her. "It was my pleasure, Mildred." "She's a wonderful young lady," said Adriana, hugging him. "You get some sleep, young lady, so you'll be well rested tomorrow." "Good night." Mildred closed the door and Albert felt relieved. "Come upstairs and I'll help you. Leanne told me what she had to do, and she's out at her bachelorette party, said Mildred. I know how to help you. Go upstairs and get undressed. Albert quickly stripped down as Mildred took his hand and had him stand nude in the tub. She took a spray bottle between his legs, saturating the area as he stood there patiently. Now just stand still and let the adhesive remover do its thing, said Mildred, leaving the room. I'm going to go and iron and I'll be back in a few minutes. Albert stood there feeling a tingling in between his legs as he felt it loosening up. After 10 minutes, Mildred returned, checking the adhesive as she now took a brush to his hair. Bangs look wonderful on you, dear, said Mildred, brushing his locks now. I'm just going to brush out all the hairspray and get it ready so there'll be no knots tomorrow. He could feel his grandmother sectioning his hair and pulling it tightly as she took scrunchie after scrunchie from the vanity. When she finished, she knelt down, gently pulling off the tape as he felt relief seeing the clump in her hand and he felt free again. Oh, thank goodness, said Albert, relieved as she moisturized his skin on his legs now. When she stood up, she took some towelettes to his face, removing his makeup before cleansing it a bit as he stood there patiently. Finally she handed him some fresh clean panties and slipped a long purple nightgown over his head. Get a good night's sleep, said Mildred, kissing him on the cheek. I'm proud of what you've done for your cousin. You are a wonderful person regardless of gender, dear. Morning seemed to come very quickly as Albert felt himself being shaken awake. Wake up, sleepy head, said Leanne, shaking him away and kissing his cheek. I just want to tell you I love you. Somebody's in a good mood today, said Albert, sitting up and rubbing his eyes. Of course I am, said Leanne. I'm only a few hours away from living my dream, so I'm expecting you to focus, smile, and be a charming young lady for just a little bit more. Of course, cuz, said Albert, rolling his eyes at her. Your dream is my nightmare. It should be a glorious day. Yes, it will. Not should, said Leanne, yanking his hair. Now come have breakfast, princess. Damn. Easy, said Albert, whining as he rubbed his head. He stood up, rubbed his eyes, and glanced at his reflection in the mirror. His grandmother had again put him in tightly pulled pigtails, which were set high on his head, but this time each pigtail hung in a perfectly set French braid. He shook his head, noticing the Tinker Bell logo on the chest of his long purple nightgown. It had long sleeves which ended in lacy ruffles, and the floor-length shirt consisted of a few puffed-out layers hiding his morning arousal. He left the room now, feeling the braid swing near each ear as he walked downstairs, disgusted at the sight of his painted toenails peeking out from under his long purple nightgown on each stair. There's my gorgeous niece-to-be, said Janice, startling Albert as he turned the corner. You even look wonderful in the morning. Thank you, said Albert as his grandmother shot him a look. Good morning. Well, I'll see everyone later, said Janice, running out. Thanks again for the help with that, Beth. Why, was she here already? Said Albert, eating some cereal. Good luck with her as your mother-in-law, Leanne. Well, she just stopped by to use the washing machine, said Beth, looking at Leanne and Mildred. It seems that the hotel where Jonathan and Adriana are staying doesn't have a laundry service, and Jonathan somehow got some lipstick on his hockey jersey and also the collar of his shirt last night. Really? Said Leanne, sipping some coffee as she turned, staring at him now. And I thought my bachelorette party had big surprises? I guess there are some others as well I should know about. Don't hold the details from me, cuz. This is quite interesting. Cut the shit, Leanne, said Albert, getting very pissed off. You know he put that jersey over my head at the ice rink when he didn't want me to be cold. And the shirt last night, said Leanne, quizzing him. Look, you made me go to a movie and he got the wrong idea, whined Albert, looking like he was going to explode. A lot of stuff happened yesterday and you put me in a lot of awkward situations that I really don't want to talk about it. He tried to kiss me and I turned away. That's how it probably got in his shirt. You happy now? Okay, that enough, ladies, said Beth, stepping in. It's time we all begin getting ready for the big day. Go take a shower, honey, as we'll need to get moving soon, said Mildred, rubbing his back to calm him down. Put the shower cap on so you don't get your hair wet and don't wash it. Katrina wants it to be a little tacky and it'll work better for her today. Just use the shower gel to wash yourself while I press your outfit. Albert calmed down as he stepped into the shower as the water ran down his back. He enjoyed it, relaxing for a few minutes until his grandmother came in and switched off the water and began drying him. Grandma, I can dry myself, said Albert. Dear, relax and let me just do what I need to do, said Mildred, as he stood there mortified. When she finished drying him, she began rubbing lotion all over his body as the overwhelming fragrance filled his nostrils. She then powdered his behind a touch and rolled some strong deodorant under his arms. She took his hand now, bringing him into the bedroom where she had him step into some yellow panties which she held out. She then held out a matching training bra which she slid over his arms, and walked behind him, buckling it. She now knelt in front of him, slipping his feet into some simple yellow sandals and securing the little buckles. Sit down, dear, said Mildred, opening her makeup case and coating her wand as she dipped it in and out a few times until it was coated with mascara. He watched now as some steam from a canister, and she now took 2 hot rollers from their case and rolled them into his bangs. She touched his lashes again now a few more times, jumping back and forth before just applying a little blush and some eyeshadow. Mildred, the photographer is here for the candids, said Beth, interrupting. Wonderful, dear. Mildred adjusted each pigtail before removing the hot rollers and brushing out his bangs. Just one more moment and she'll be down. Mildred now walked over to the closet and returned with his dress, taking it off the hanger. She knelt as he stepped into it, wondering what was happening as she zipped up the back. Quickly now, she took some lipstick to his lips and then dragged him by the hand downstairs and out into the backyard. Have the young lady sit on the bench, please, said the photographer. They now positioned Albert on the bench in front of their beautiful floral garden, crossing his legs at his ankles as he looked at his family as they posed him. He was silent as they moved him various ways, having him sit with a flower basket, smell a white rose, and trying different smiles. His eyes widened now, seeing Jonathan come in dressed in khaki shorts with a white shirt and yellow bow tie. Hey, so do we look silly or what? Said Jonathan, as they had them hold hands and stare at each other. I really have no idea what to say, said Albert, as he could hardly control his laughter looking at Jonathan. But nice bow tie. They put Jonathan on one knee now, staring at Albert and handing him a flower before a woman approached them. Pucker for me, honey, said the woman, coating his lips. Now kiss his cheek, Haley, and hold it until we tell you. Albert almost died as he could see everyone smiling as he was forced to plant one on Jonathan's cheek. Okay, release and look away shyly, and it's a wrap for the kids, said the photographer. He looked up, seeing his distinct lipstick mark on Jonathan's cheek. See you later, said Jonathan, as his mother was whisking him off. It'll be fun today. Bye, said Albert, immediately turning his back and happily walking inside, away from everyone. You did great, said Janice, hugging him as she saw him. Yellow is wonderful on you, Haley. Thanks, said Albert, walking into the bathroom and closing the door. He now saw the full reflection, the image of a young innocent girl that had been given him this morning. He rolled his lower lip, which looked so large and puffy yet natural with a cranberry lip color, and his eyes looked so blue he thought under his abundance of lashes. It was weird to see his hair dangling in 2 tightly pulled and braided pigtails which swung a touch as his grandmother had added 2 little sunflower scrunchies which accentuated his look. The dress she put him in was a soft yellow sundress, which had thick canary-colored ribbon straps across his shoulders hiding his little training bra straps. On top, The dress was straight and form-sitting and made of a soft silk material, which flared out in a series of delicate softly silk layers ending about 6 inches above his yellow sandals. Around his waist was a thick matching canary yellow ribbon, which was tied neatly in a large bow at his back. "Okay, just a few more hours," he said to himself, flipping his bangs as he shook his head. "Almost done in there? Have to start getting ready?" Leanne asked as she knocked. Albert opened the door and came out as his cousin barged in. "Go downstairs and watch TV until they call you," said Leanne, nastily. Albert sat patiently, watching TV as they took pictures of the rest of the family while people started getting ready. He received a nice few hours-long mental break before he felt Beth tap his shoulder. "Time to go, honey," said Beth. "Come on, your grandmother is already at the salon. I dropped her off earlier with Leanne." Albert walked outside, getting in the back of the car, and was silent as they drove. He looked over, seeing the large garment bag and a few shopping bags hanging next to him as he sat quietly until they arrived. "There's my pigtailed cutie," said Katrina, hugging him as soon as he came in. "Time to bring you back and get started on that hair, honey." He followed her back to her chair as she immediately wrapped her cape around him and spun him away from the mirror. He felt his hair go free as he heard the snap of each scrunchie being removed as she tossed them on the counter. Quickly she began spraying the liquid into his hair and picking through it with her fingers before he watched her roll up a large cart. He noticed her stick a few pins between her teeth before she took a comb, now digging it through his hair. He felt her pulling some of his hair between her fingers before he saw her grab a green plastic roller from the cart. He could feel the initial tension as she inserted it as it felt pinned to his head tightly now. He watched after she seemed to take roller after roller, stretching his hair very tightly as she secured them. After about half an hour of work, she finally stopped, stretching a net which she slipped over his head. "Okay, come on, sweetie," said Katrina, leading him across the room and sat him in a red leather chair. "I'll put you next to your grandmother." He looked over as his grandmother smiled from under her large bonnet dryer, as one was now lowered over his head. He sat nervously as Katrina switched it on as he felt the rush of hot air as she now lifted his grandmother's, leading her away as he sat there. Katrina returned in a few minutes, handing him a few hairdo and teen girls magazines as he looked at her as she lifted his dryer, checking his hair. "Somewhere near the back of this one has some cuts for skaters," said Katrina, turning some pages. "Janice told me you are a really good ice dancer and you want to go into competitions. After all the wedding stuff is over, I could give you a really cute cut if you want. I know that part of the ice dancing thing is to have a look that flows when you spin and bounces back when you stop or glide. There are a few in there that would be adorable on you. Take a look and think about it, honey." Albert was ready to puke as Katrina lowered the dryer onto his head again as he looked at the ice dancers. He was intrigued at how gorgeous some of them were, but was not interested in joining them. He found himself though looking at some of the teen magazines and checking out some of the hot teen girls, when finally Katrina returned checking his hair again. "Okay, Haley. I think your hair is cooked enough now," said Katrina, checking the rollers and switching off the hood and glancing at what he was looking at as she touched the page. "You'd look good in that. You've got a wonderful face shape for a lot of things." He followed her back to the chair now, seeing his image in the mirror of his head under this net as she again spun him away from the mirror. "No cheating," said Katrina, smiling as she removed his hairnet and circled him with a wave of hairspray. "I'm going to surprise you with how beautiful you'll be later." She now took a sponge to his face, blending some light foundation to his skin before taking a large soft brush to his cheeks. When she was satisfied, she opened a palette of color and worked on his eyelids as he sat patiently, before she took a brush to his lips. She left for a minute, now checking on Beth who was under the dryer now as Leanne walked by with a head of rollers smiling at him. Katrina returned now, delicately removing the first roller as she placed it on her cart. 5 more followed as she seemed to insert pin after pin as he sat there waiting for this to end. He now felt something with some weight being placed onto his head, and felt it dig in, scratching his scalp in various places as she positioned it. She seemed to insert and remove it a few times now, as he could see more rollers being placed on the cart as she seemed to be twisting some of his hair oddly now. Within a few minutes, the tension was apparent as no longer was she removing anything, yet seemed to be adjusting and tugging a bit on from the crown of his head towards the back, before saturating him in hairspray. "Don't squirm now, please," said Katrina, pulling his bangs. "Home stretch and I don't want to burn you. These ceramics are super hot." He felt her now turn his bangs under, curling just for 20 seconds as she released them. She combed through them twice, and took her scissors slightly cutting across. She stepped back now, triple-checking them before putting down her thick iron and grabbing a small one, twisting it upward near his right ear. Within a minute, she released it and moved to the other side, repeating the process before placing it down and again circling him in spray. She walked around him now, checking every little hair before nodding her head. She was pleased. "So what do you think, Mildred?" said Katrina, spinning his chair as he now saw his reflection and his grandmother. "Oh, Haley! She looks incredible." "I think you are amazing, Katrina," said Mildred, tearing up. "She looks like a princess. Like Cinderella." "Thank you," said Katrina, proud of her work. "Good thing we always use waterproof mascara for a wedding." "So what do you think, Haley?" Albert stared at himself, almost more stunned than ever, getting his first glimpse of himself in an updo now. His bangs looked slightly shorter, revealing his eyebrows now, and were as straight as possible across, with a perfectly curled underlook giving them some body. On his head was a delicate round headpiece, with a small tiara, which was set back a few inches behind his bangs. The body of the headpiece consisted of delicate tiny white roses woven into some white lace, and a very soft pink and white colored ribbon, of which some curled ribbon strands hung on his shoulders. Inside the middle of the headpiece were perfectly separated and rolled barrel curls, which were pinned to his head and each other, before being stacked in an offset 2-story Cinderella style, giving them some height above his head. In front of each ear fell a few loose spirals, and behind his bangs and before his headpiece, some tiny white accent roses had been twisted into his hair. His makeup had been done in very natural pink colors, and his complexion looked flawless, with long lashes and soft pink lips. "I can't even believe this is me," said Albert, touching his face as Katrina gently removed the cape. "Well, it is, and you're gorgeous," said Leanne, hugging him as she came over. "Katrina, you are the best. This is what I pictured." "Thanks," said Katrina, enjoying the compliments. "Now let go of her and you all better get dressed. The limo will be here soon." Mildred took Albert to the suite next door as she carried a few bags with them. She helped him off with his sundress and his underwear, and he was now shaking. "Don't worry, dear," said Mildred, holding out some white silk panties. "You'll do fine. Now just duck forward for me." "Okay," said Albert, leaning forward as she slipped a white silk camisole over his head carefully. "I just want this to end now." She held out some sheer white tights which he stepped into, and she pulled up tightly, followed by white open-toed mules, which she strapped around his ankles. Next she unzipped the first garment bag, removing a thick layer of crinoline attached to a silk undergarment and had him step into it. Finally she unzipped the large garment bag hanging on the wall, removing his dress which she very carefully slipped over his head and pulled his arms through. He sighed after taking a deep breath as she slid it down his body, before straightening his short sleeves and adjusting the hem of the dress. She fussed with the crinoline, ensuring the dress was puffed out precisely as she blended the added crinoline layers with those built into the dress. She gently rubbed his back, trying to relax him as he felt trapped as she secured clasp after clasp on his back, before he felt her slide the zipper up his back, enclosing everything. Well, I don't think we could have imagined a more beautiful flower girl, said his grandmother, tying the bow before stepping back and looking at him. We really couldn't. You are breathtaking, honey. I'll be right back. Albert stared at his image in the mirror as his grandmother left them for a moment. He was in an ivory designer satin and tulle dress, cut in a stunning classic princess design. It looked huge to him as he moved, as the dress had a double tulle bridal type overskirt, then an outside skirt layer under that, and then double layered crinoline which was puffed up for incredible fullness. It felt soft though as he attempted to reach under but was unable to get to feel the lining that lined the entire dress, as there were just too many layers. It was also very odd though when he touched his stomach, which was adorned with the most incredible beaded waist belt that a young girl's dress could have, and ended in an 1.5-inch thick pink ribbon, which tied on his back and matched the bridal party dresses he had seen. He shrugged his shoulders, feeling the perfect fit on top except where he had short puffed-up sleeves with lace and pearl cuffs on his biceps. It is some dress, isn't it? Said his grandmother, startling him as he stared at his image as she returned. Perfect for my little princess. Grandma, I'm just shocked, said Albert. I'm not into this, you know. I know, dear, said Mildred, as she stepped behind him and placed a little gold Haley nameplate around his neck, securing the clasp. But it's okay to enjoy being pampered and beautiful. Many people of all genders enjoy it. Now come on, our limo is here. They walked out and got into the limo, heading to the church. When they got there, they walked into a waiting area as Albert was stunned at the scurrying about by everyone. Immediately, he noticed his cousin look him up and down and then turned, ignoring him as she was taking deep breaths, consumed with pre-ceremony jitters. Janice walked over, handing him his bouquet yet ignoring him as everyone was consumed with every little detail on Leanne as the doors swung open. It's time, ladies, someone said as Albert heard the procession music now. He lined up as he had been trained, and began walking, seeing all eyes on him. As he finally got near the altar, he could see Jonathan smiling at him, giving a nod of approval, and Albert felt he was ready to puke. The entire ceremony was a blur to him until it finally ended, watching his cousin giving that first kiss. Before it seemed like an instant he was holding Jonathan's arm and finally marching out of the church. For over an hour, he was positioned and moved, smiling for picture after picture with his new and old family, before they finally headed to the reception hall. He again held Jonathan's arm as they were announced, as all of the bridal party came in, before he was stunned to realize he now had to dance with Jonathan. Well, this is fun, said Jonathan, smirking as he put his arm around him as a slow romantic song began. Go easy on me, it's my first ever dance. Well, mine too, said Albert, stunned as Jonathan's fingers were interlocked in his right hand, and the other was around him. Well, let's just follow what everyone else does, said Jonathan, spinning Albert slowly. You're not mad at me about that stuff at the movie, are you? No, I'm trying to forget that, okay, said Albert, rolling his eyes. I told you I'm not allowed to date, that's all, okay? Thank you so much. I was hoping you'd say that, said Jonathan, smiling. But I have to say that you are so awesome. So cool. And honestly, the prettiest girl here. Hey, food here. Gotta eat now, said Albert, interrupting and thankful that the song ended. See you later. Albert scurried over to the large dais, thankful to be on the girl's side near his cousin. He sat patiently eating and daydreaming as people were up and down dancing. He wasted time wandering around and went to the bathroom multiple times, avoiding Jonathan and the dance floor as he bided his time for the reception to end. After a few hours, he was finally having dessert as the video guy came by, passing the microphone and receiving everyone's congratulations. Good luck to Leanne and Kenny, said Albert, speaking into the microphone before passing it back to the video engineer. I wish you the best. The engineer now passed it to Jonathan as he came up in front of Albert and the bridal party. Wait, may I have everyone's attention please? Said Jonathan, standing on a chair and speaking into the microphone while looking at Albert as the room grew silent. After receiving my cousin's and Leanne's permission, I would like to interrupt this special occasion for a moment. Go ahead, said Leanne, nodding at Jonathan. Haley, I only know you briefly, but it's been amazing. I know you are not allowed to date yet, so I'd like to ask your grandmother a question, said Jonathan, turning toward Mildred. Mildred, I'd like to request your permission for Haley to accompany me as my date to my junior prom. You have my word I will take good care of her should you allow her to accompany me. Oh my, said Mildred, stunned as she was put on the spot, and giving Albert a look as she could see everyone staring at her. How wonderful. How could I say no to that? Albert gasped as Jonathan ran over, hugging him. He was frozen as he looked over at his grandmother and aunt, stunned as all eyes were on him. When the hug finally ended, the band began playing as Jonathan took his hand. Before he knew it, Jonathan was in his face planting a soft brief kiss on his lips before leading him to the dance floor. On his way he was interrupted by Janice as she embraced him. This is so unexpected, but amazing, said Janice, kissing Albert's cheek and squeezing him with a hug. I am so happy. Janice wiped a smidge of her lipstick from Albert's cheek and then hugged Jonathan before walking over to Mildred and Beth to hug them. He looked over at his grandmother, almost crying as she smiled at him. He was now slow dancing with Jonathan, trying to avoid eye contact as Jonathan pushed Albert's head onto his shoulder. It'll be fine, honey, said Mildred, just mouthing the words silently to him as Jonathan spun him. I love you. Finally the song ended as Jonathan stepped back, looking into Albert's eyes as he held both hands now. Thanks. I'm so lucky, said Jonathan. I'm sorry I surprised you, but I promise you a great time. Surprise! You mean shock, said Albert as a tear dripped down his cheek. When is this dance, and wouldn't you rather take a pretty girl from your class? I'm sure a hockey star like you can get a lot of girls. It's in 2 weeks, and believe me there is no one else I'm interested in, said Jonathan, wiping Albert's cheek. I gave you my ring, didn't I? What ring? Said Albert, stunned again. Albert looked down now as Jonathan lifted his necklace. The one I gave you 2 minutes ago when you said yes. It's my class ring, said Jonathan, as Albert looked down at it. Remember our embrace? Sorry, thought you saw it when I put it on you. Albert lifted the ring, which was now on a necklace around his neck, as Leanne, Mildred, and Beth came over now, hugging them. Mildred put her arm around him as they walked off for a quick chat. Don't worry, it will be fun, said Mildred, comforting him. It's no big deal. Janice now interrupted them as she hung up her cell phone. Mildred, I know this was not planned, but you have to let me buy Haley's dress, said Janice. It would be my pleasure. I would just love that. What a wonderful offer, but I couldn't ask that of you, said Mildred. But of course you can shop with us and be involved in everything. Okay, I understand, but I won't take no for an answer on shoes and the hair, said Janice, being pushy. It will be wonderful to see you more often now that you'll be moving to the neighborhood. This is going to be wonderful. Moving? Said Albert, stamping his feet. Janice, could you give us a minute, dear? Said Mildred. Of course. Janice walked away to give them some privacy. Dear, this all just happened between yesterday and today. Mildred put her arm around Albert. I found out that our rent was being raised and we could no longer afford it last month. With Leanne moving out now, Beth invited us to move in with her. I slept on it and decided it was for the best to move in with my daughter as we could live a better life. When were you going to tell me this? Whined Albert. Well, I know you've been under a lot of stress while doing this wonderful thing for Leanne, so I figured I'd tell you tomorrow, said Mildred. I knew the time would be right now, since you will be going to a new school for high school next semester, and I also wanted someone to be around you should anything happen to me. I'm not getting any younger, dear, and who else better to care for you than my own daughter? This is crazy, said Albert. So I'll be living in that guest room permanently? No, honey, that room is too small for a teenager, said Beth. Your grandmother will go in there. I'm giving you Leanne's room. As long as I can get it painted after this stupid prom I'm stuck with now. Albert whined. I thought this was over after today, and now I'm going to have to wear a dress again in 2 weeks. Prom? That's the least of your worries, said Leanne, smiling and shaking her head. You better get used to a lot of pink and very girly stuff now that you have a steady boyfriend. What the hell are you talking about? Cried Albert. I didn't agree to any boyfriend, especially a steady boyfriend. Dear, the whole place saw you agree to the prom and accept his ring, said Beth. We'll show you the video when we get it. When a girl accepts a class ring, it means she agrees to go steady with the boy. Maybe you didn't realize it, but you agreed to be Jonathan's girlfriend in front of the entire family and 200 wedding guests. Holy shit, whined Albert. I didn't know crap or even see him put it on me. It'll be fine, and no big deal, dear, said Mildred. Now shush. Here comes Janice. So I just hung up with the trainer, and I booked it. She seems wonderful, and I will not take no for an answer. They're starting Monday, and I've already ordered both of them a few outfits, said Janice, interrupting now. I also booked a few dress appointments to try on some things on Tuesday and Wednesday and a hair appointment on Friday so we can experiment. Wow, you move fast, Janice, said Mildred. What trainer? Sorry, I'm just so excited about these two. I can almost picture them back here getting married in 10 or 15 years. Let me explain, said Janice, chuckling as she flicked her wrist at Albert. Oh, and Haley, you don't have to worry about Jonathan playing hockey anymore, honey. I talked him into quitting and concentrating on the ice dancing with you, so I booked you two with the best trainer I could find. I can't wait to see you two in a recital in a few months. I saw the look on your face when he was playing, so now you won't have to worry about him getting hurt. Recital, a few months, whined Albert, ready to explode. Don't worry, dear. You'll do fine the way you skate already, said Janice, dialing her phone again. Katrina, it's Janice again. I forgot to tell you that Haley and Jonathan will be ice dancing now, so I'll need you to help find her the right cut, but not until after the prom, then we'll go shorter on her. Not Dorothy Hamill short, but something elegant and graceful that will look beautiful when she spins, unless we do some braids and buns. Well, I'm giving you time to think about it. I'm sparing no expense on the lessons and outfits, so I want them to look perfect. I'm so excited about this. Janice walked away, dialing number after number as she left. Albert was fuming. See you when I get back from my honeymoon, said Leanne, hugging him. Was that your first ever kiss, or was there really one at the movies? No. Well, there was a weird movie thing. I guess. Kinda, said Albert as his eyes widened with confusion. Holy crap, my first kiss was with a boy. This can't be happening. Don't worry. I think my little flower girl will make the perfect girlfriend, and I'll be back just in time to see how beautiful you'll look on prom night, said Leanne, winking at him. You can keep any of my old clothes that fit you, if you want. I've got a few things you'll look pretty hot in that will get you a much better kiss than what I've seen. I'm not doing this shit anymore, said Albert, whining to his grandmother. You know this has to stop. Excuse me. All I asked you to do was help Leanne. I was going to let you go back to your regular life, but you agreed to take his ring on your own. I didn't see anyone force you to kiss him or to slow dance, and now I'm really wondering what happened at that movie," said Mildred, twisting his ear before grabbing his arm and dragging him away forcefully. "Now the only thing that is going to change is your attitude. You better get used to those Catholic school skirts, because now that we won't have to pay rent anymore, I'll be able to send you to a nice girls' school, and you'll obviously be needing a new feminine wardrobe. It's a good thing Leanne has a nice walk-in closet in your new pink room, Haley,"